What is up, team? Welcome into the Technical Fowl podcast. I am not your co-host, Jack Anderson, and I'm not joined by two co-hosts. I am Sanders Oakley, joined by one co-host today, JP Pucylowski. Jack could not make it today, a little under the weather after weeks of grinding and me missing multiple shows, so I guess it was his time to take a day off. But, JP, how are we feeling on this fall day?
I'm feeling pretty good. How are you, sir?
Great. I've been making some changes to the T25 website, working on getting basketball in there. And then I have some other big dreams that I have for that, so I've been working on that all day today. I had to manually upload 360 logos. Still working on that. That's just so time-consuming because you have to find it, download it to your computer, and then re-upload it to like the back end of the website. So that is taking... And then, well, I technically only did like 120 because I already had the 136, I guess, from college football. But while I was doing that, I realized that I could find higher quality images for all the teams that I'd already done in the previous like year and a half that I'd been working on it. So I had to go in and re-download all those. So it's just been a long morning. But yeah, so far so good. I've got all that done, so now I can actually start on the code and everything. But it's been fun. I haven't touched the back end of that stuff in months, so I kind of had to relearn everything, and now we're figuring it out. But today, as always, we will be recapping the weekend of NFL football. We've got a couple games that we previewed, or that Jack and JP previewed. I was not here for that, but that Jack and JP previewed. We'll review those. We'll do some big picture takeaways from the weekend. We will do our playoff picture. I've got that ready to go, just me and JP. And then that gives us an advantage over Jack because we get an extra week of, predicting a Super Bowl champion that he doesn't have. So that's big for us.
Absolutely.
And then we will do the Pucylowski pyramid, where JP will rank the NFL teams, power rank them. I think you added a team back. Is that right?
I added a team back to the pyramid, yes. From the teams left off.
Not back from the graveyard.
We have two more graveyard teams today. But for the most part, not really a big movement on the pyramid whatsoever. And I will explain why that is the case when we get there.
Probably because last week's pyramid was just really good, right?
That's the simplest way to put it, yes.
With that being said, do we want to dive in and hit up the biggest takeaways from the weekend, bird's eye view stuff, maybe some games that surprised you? Actually, no. Favorite moment from the weekend? Because we always do that, right?
Yes.
It's weird to be in the driver's seat. I'm not used to this. I have to have a better memory than normal. But your favorite moment from the weekend then?
This is not one that you would probably understand, but Josh Allen did the Eurostep celebration finally. It was something he had promised to some golf YouTubers called Bob Does Sports. He promised to Bob and then Fat Perez, if you don't know, Fat Perez is a YouTube golfer, and when he's a scratch golfer. When he makes birdies, he likes to do a Eurostep celebration after he makes the birdie. And Josh Allen had played with them 2 years ago, and he had promised after he played with them he would do the celebration. He doesn't do it all of last season. He just forgets whenever he scores a touchdown. He goes blank, even though he's thought about it in the game and thought about it in pregame. He's like apologized to them multiple times post game of like, darn it, dude! Like today I was thinking about it, but I just didn't do it, and he finally did it this weekend after he scores his first rushing touchdown of 3. So that was, for me, the coolest moment of the day because that was a kind of like a 2-year promise finally delivered. Fat Perez is a Buffalo Bills fan as well, so it was really impactful to him.
Isn't there like a viral video of him? Is this the video of him on the golf cart with the guy? And I forget. It's a classic Josh Allen situation where he makes like a fitness joke or Imagine Dragons. I feel like there's a video of him on a golf cart with a guy, and
it may have been the video.
They're drinking, and I can't remember. Like they make a joke. I don't know. I just have that memory in my head, but I don't remember specifically what it was said.
It may be a video with them. I can't recall that specific joke, but
that makes a lot of sense for Josh as a fellow high level competitor. Whenever I'm playing angle ball, my mind does go blank, and then I finish the game, and like I go back to normal. Like my brain empties, and then I finish the game, and then my brain is full of all the stuff I was thinking about before the game. So I understand, Josh. It's okay.
Yeah, you don't really get to, at least when I played basketball, there's not really a ton of moments to celebrate, because when you play basketball, it's nonstop. So you score a point, you got to get back on defense. So it was never something that I ever really thought about was what was my celebration going to be. And most of the time, if I did anything, it was, especially when I was younger, 5th, 6th, or 7th grade, I would just imitate art, imitate other basketball players.
Yeah.
There was one time I hit a 3. It was either 7th or 6th grade, and I ran back down the floor with 3s on both of my hands and wings like I was a plane, and I was flying the plane. Ref warned me, said he was going to give me a tech if I did that again. This is like 7th grade basketball too.
So you did it again?
No, I didn't do it again.
Okay.
I think I only ever got one tech. I was one of those players that always, me and my father, who was my coach for many of my basketball years, I loved having conversations with the refs, because I'm one of those guys that just tries to, in a really nitpicky way, pry at the logic of the refs making their calls.
Yeah.
So if, like an out-of-bounds call, if the ball is flying towards out of bounds, but a player is in front of the ref and blocking the view of the ball, and he calls it out of bounds before the dude saves it or whatever, I would ask, like, well, how do you know that the ball was out of bounds? Could you see through the person? Do you have x-ray vision? Stuff like that. And I was really good at walking the line of making sure I wasn't too much like a Draymond Green getting a tech.
Yeah.
And it was just trying to pry at logic. Gosh, miss those days.
Yeah, I do not miss my younger basketball days. I played a couple years of upwards, and I was really bad. So I do not miss. I already told you on my story. I intercepted my own team's pass and knocked it out of bounds because no one was passing the ball. I was like, well, I want the ball because no one's passing it to me. Mm-hmm. So they inbound it, and I tried to intercept it and knocked it out of bounds. So I was not good at basketball or most sports, any sports, as a child. I was a Legos kid. Legos and Nerf.
What was your
favorite moment?
Favorite moment from the weekend?
My favorite moment is not a NFL game. It was a fantasy game.
Sure, absolutely.
A lot of touchdowns. Let me pull up all the players who it really. So I'm in a league with. Me and 5 cousins. It's a keeper league. The rosters are huge. We start like 18 guys. It's a really goofy league, but it's me, 2 brothers, and 2 cousins. And so it's very competitive, especially between me and my youngest brother, Harris, because last season, he beat me week 1, and then I went undefeated and won the championship. This year, I have 2 losses, one to one of my brothers, and then one to Harris. And Harris at 12:45 was hitting night-night sellies. He was texting me the Steph Curry night-night selly every time a player of his scored a touchdown. I told him, if I come back and win this game, you'll never hear the end of it. I did not. But yesterday, or this weekend, I beat him and obviously sent night-night sellies every time one of my players scored a touchdown. So very grateful to Jalen Hurts, James Cook, Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bijan. Huge. But he tells me I have locker room issues because I have Jamar Chase on the team. He's told me I need to get control of my team.
Absolutely.
And I just said they're just fiery competitors. They're going to go out there and give it all. And maybe sometimes they lose, they're cool, but they're in it to win it. And maybe they might overstep it sometimes. But I think we've got a pretty good locker room. We'll see how it goes, though. We're getting close to playoffs.
That is one of the most fun things about fantasy. While you have really no control of how your players do, you can find little things like that. Like ESPN has the thing where if your player scores a touchdown, you can taunt your opponent, sends a notification. One game last year, one of my friends taunted me like all day, and then I had a comeback victory on Monday Night Football, and so I had screenshotted all of his taunts and I'd sent them back to him. It's just funny stuff like that. There's other ones where I'll go back throughout the weekend. I'll go back and I'll look at the draft recap, and I'll be like for instance, one of my friends selected Calvin Ridley. The very next pick was me. I selected George Pickens. And obviously that has worked out just tremendously for me. And I'll just send the screenshot of that, and I'll say, "Hey, nice pick, brother."
I need to go back and see how many of
Stuff
those.
like that. It's just hilarious.
I need to start looking in some leagues and see if I can do any of that. That's funny. But yeah, the highlight for me was all my touchdowns that ended up getting me a victory. Ready to try and repeat. I have the most dominant team in the league, and so every time I suggest a rule change, they're all because there's it's a 6-team league, and I think that we should only have 3 teams make the playoff, and best team gets a bye, because I don't like 2/3 of the league getting into the playoffs in such a small league. And Harris just said, "Well, that's just because you're the best team in the league." And I was like, "Well, I suggested that last year in the off season, so I think that it's a little more valid."
I have to walk that same line as a commissioner of my league.
Yeah,
making sure it doesn't look like I'm colluding by any means.
Yeah,
I've done a fine job at that, but introducing rule changes, you have to be very careful there. So if I do introduce rule changes, it's usually at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Before anyone can say anything.
Well, that's why I did it in the off season, but it doesn't matter because it's a keeper league. So the off season, everyone still knew I was the best team.
Fair.
I've also have previous accusations of collusion in previous leagues where I have been the commissioner. I won 3 in a row. I won it 3 years in a row. I think the first 3 years in a row. And I think there might have even been a couple stat corrections.
Yeah. In
year 1 or 2, maybe in the championship. It was tough. There were some accusations thrown at me that they did not stick. We took it to court, and I was found innocent of all charges. But I have been accused in the past of tampering with scores to give myself wins.
You need to start. I don't know what you do in your league, but as commissioner of a league myself, try and find ways to just increase the hype. So you have like for me, I have a weekly report that I put out, and I literally type a 3-page or so written report, and I talk about what happened last week, and I have each week I'll have my matchup of the week, whether it's 2 guys really have a rivalry with each other, it's 2 best friends, or it's this guy's undefeated and he's versus the team with 1 loss, and I talk about that for the first page, and then I'll have a watch, and so it's for the teams that are really close to going to do the punishment. I mean, they're close to last place.
Yeah.
And I will objectively rank who I think is most likely to do the punishment at this point in the season, and I'll give reasons why. Finding stuff like those, not only to you, but if you're commissioner of a league, really just increase the drama of it.
Yeah.
And make it really, really fun, even for the teams that are doing terribly. Because, if you're doing terribly, well, you don't want to be number 1 on the watch. You want to be number 3 or off the watch entirely.
Yeah. I did.
It keeps people engaged.
After Harris beat me and gave me my second loss this year, which doubled my loss total from last year, he was doing a lot of trash talking. So I did a mini press conference. I stood up and recorded a 3-minute video of me answering fake questions and stuff like that, and sent it to our group chat, and was my statement after the loss. And then the next morning he sent one back in the group chat. So talking about how great a locker room he has and how they're just going to finish the season strong. And he's now lost, I think, through 2 games since then. So
that's funny.
That was my favorite moment. Do you want to get into some of the big stuff that happened this week, some weekly takeaways? Because there was, I think, especially one thing that happened I was not expecting, impactful to you, the Carolina Panthers and Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long dialogue on this show since the summer when we previewed the Carolina Panthers. We talked about I was too high on the Panthers, JP was too low. We had a TikTok that got reposted on Twitter and shared and got a lot of views, and we got a lot of hate on our people would come to our TikTok channel. I say hate, I don't care. It wasn't, they were just calling us dumb, which when the Panthers were 5-4 and had just beat the Packers, it was, I'll say, semi-valid. The team was playing much better than JP predicted. I still had them going 8-9, so they could still finish in my prediction range. But as a show, we took that hate and rooted for the Saints, and they won. And Bryce Young had under 200 passing yards again. But then this Sunday, he goes off against the Atlanta Falcons. I believe he finished with over 300 passing yards.
Oh, more than that, 448.
Yeah. So apparently he saw your video, your apology, where you called him out and said he's not good and hasn't passed for 200 yards and said, screw that, I'm going to go out and cook. And he did.
Yeah, he set the Panthers franchise record with those 448 passing yards. He also had his 10th game-winning drive as the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, which is, I mean, that's really remarkable. It's something I think it's a really critical stat that's not brought up enough. Is game-winning drives, because what was the one thing, or not just for me, for really anyone, what's one thing about Bryce Young in college at Alabama that you thought really, really highly of, and you saw in a lot of key moments out of him? What would that? It's really one word. What would that be?
Clutch. Is
clutch.
That the word?
Yeah, he was clutch at Auburn. He leads the game-winning drive 4 years ago. He was really, really good in the Tennessee game, even though they lost it. This is a guy who is clutch down the stretch of the game. He makes big plays out of nothing. He scrambles when he's really kind of the least athletic guy in the field. He's breaking sacks. He's finding guys down the field. He's clutch. And that is what he's been for the most part of his career in Carolina. In the moments that he's gotten it, team has been terrible, so there's been moments where it wouldn't matter, but also he's been terrible. He's 12-26 career record, but this year he's 6-4. So you have to give him credit for winning games, because in the NFL, quarterback wins. I think it's a huge stat. I give him a ton of credit for the way he performed this week, but I want to see more. That's just his second game this season where he's had more than 200 passing yards. He was really, really good on Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons, who are terrible. So I just need to see more performances, and he'll have the chance of a lifetime, really, on Monday night when he goes to San Francisco and plays the 49ers, who are 7-4. That's a team you're kind of vying with for that 7 seed in the playoffs right now. Carolina is a game behind San Francisco, who is 7-4, and so it's the moment. It's the key moment. Go do it, Bryce Young. This is why you were the number 1 overall pick. I have extreme doubts that it'll happen, but I give a ton of credit to Bryce that he got to. He set the franchise record. 448 yards is a ton, really, regardless, even if it wasn't the franchise record. But I still think, for me, I need to see more going forward before I recrown him, or I apologize again, I guess.
I think that I'm going to say issue, and I don't mean that to be a negative. The situation with Bryce Young is that he's had a high-end game just now against the Falcons. He had another game earlier this year, I believe, the one with over 200 passing yards. He's still playing with the ups and downs of a rookie,
sure,
which is not what you want to see from a year 3 guy.
Year 3, number 1 overall pick.
Right, number 1 overall pick in year 3, especially when you thought that you were kind of through the ups and downs with the way he finished last season.
Yeah.
This is where he needs to start being more consistent and putting up 225, 250 yards, a couple touchdowns, limiting the picks, and doing that consistently. And he's not doing that right now. It's still he threw for 108 yards, and he threw for 115 yards, and he had no touchdowns and 2 picks. And then he goes for 440 and 3 touchdowns and no picks. And it's like, that's really good, but we see rookies and second-year guys do that. And then in year 3 and 4 is when you start to say, okay, either they can start to sustain that high-end play or they can't. And if they can't, they're out. And Bryce Young right now looks like he can't, which is why I think that if this isn't the switch flip, I don't know if he's going to get that 5th-year option picked up. And I don't know if the Carolina Panthers if he's going to be there going forward. That's
a really interesting debate for them going forward, because this coming off season is the off season to decide, and I imagine they will, just because they've gotten to 6 wins, and I think they'll get to probably 8 wins, and finish 8-9, and you could say, okay, we made another step forward. We saw Bryce at the end of last year, and then we saw him this year, and he was 8-6 as starting quarterback. Okay, let's add more talent to the roster, and maybe next year we can really make our push for the NFC South. Baker's a year older. We don't really like what we see with Tyler Shuck in New Orleans with the way they finished their season, and then Atlanta is a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
they can win the division next year. So I think they probably will at this point. But Bryce is going to have to put together more of these performances, like you're saying. Not 448 yards, but 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, win some football games down the stretch. Because he is vying for that 5th-year option at this point.
Yeah.
He's got tough games, though. And this is something that I've talked about multiple weeks for Carolina. I don't know if they can get much higher than 8 wins because they play at San Francisco on Monday night. Then they host the Rams. Then they go to New Orleans, who he just struggled mightily against. They play the Bucs still twice, and they host Seattle. So I don't think anything's guaranteed. I wouldn't even say a win is guaranteed.
Yeah.
You'll be favored in one game, New Orleans, going forward unless Tampa Bay really falls off the cliff. So he's got to go out there and perform and lead his team to victories like he did on Sunday against Atlanta. And that will be kind of the deciding factor if he's the quarterback going forward for Carolina.
Yeah.
But shout out to him. I would love to see it. I loved him in college. I got to see him twice when I was here at State, both in Starkville, and then I went and watched him in Tuscaloosa the year after. He is really, really fun to watch, and I'm glad that he's having some good performances and had one on Sunday. But he just isn't consistent enough for me to say that he's that good.
Yeah, when do 5th-year options have to? It's before next.
It's before the 4th season. So this offseason they have to decide.
Cool. Then I will not. I have a lot of thoughts about that and how I think Carolina could end up in Pittsburgh purgatory. But we're not going to have that whole conversation. We'll save that for off-season.
Sure.
But I have some concerns there. Other big games.
I mean Shedeur Sanders got to come in for the.
As a Shedeur guy, I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter. Actually, somebody, Mogi, sent me a reel about someone, my weekend now that Shedeur came in and was bad. And I was just like, I was never a Shedeur guy. I didn't want teams to draft him. I was a defender of teams passing on him. I didn't get the first-round hype. But also, I'm not going to say that he came in and played so bad that he played any worse than Dylan Gabriel. I think the Cleveland Browns are just a bad offense. Mm-hmm. And so I think he got put in a miserable situation. I'm also not going to defend the people who are saying, well, how come he didn't get first-team reps and you put him in behind that awful offensive line? What did you expect? Because these are the same people who are screaming for him to play behind that awful offensive line. I'm more of just I didn't learn anything from Sunday.
I just want to start to clarify things. For one, the report that he hasn't had reps with the first team, and he, like Shedeur said, that was probably the first ball I've thrown to Judy or Jerry this entire season.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Correct. Every other team is like that.
Every other team in the NFL is like that. Every backup quarterback runs with the twos. The starter runs with the ones, and just the ones, and that's how it works unless there's an injury. Gabriel hadn't been hurt up until that point, and so then Shedeur got to come in. That being said, he was 4 for 16, which is the lowest completion percentage, I'm pretty sure, this century by any quarterback in a game where they've thrown 10 or more passes. 25%, 4 for 16. He had a pick, of course, with that.
Yeah.
We saw the things that were concerning about his Colorado tape, where he was trying to scramble too much. He was trying to create too much. He would just drop deeper and deeper, and he got sacked twice because of that against Baltimore. He missed potential throws instead of stepping up in the pocket like a pocket passing quarterback should. And if you're about to get sacked, just fall down like Blake Shapen. Instead, he backed up, and he tried to scramble, and he tried to be athletic. He's not that athletic, especially against that Ravens defense. They still have playmakers, even though they've been giving up points. All that being said, though, when we have seen rookie quarterbacks come in the middle of a game, Tyler Shuck replaced Spencer Rattler earlier this year in the second half. He was I think it was 15 for 27. He had no touchdowns. He had a pick. So not a significantly better completion percentage, but It's not like it was he blew the doors off. Then he got a week of being with the first team guys. He got reps. He comes back the next week. He's really, really impressive. Shows really, really great poise. Makes some key throws, especially on third down against the Panthers on the road. And now we are really excited to see what it'll look like out of the bye hosting Atlanta.
Yeah.
Shador's going to get that opportunity this week, and he'll get to play a weak opponent. At least in my opinion, Panthers are weak. He'll get to play probably the weakest opponent in the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
And so
2-15 team, potentially.
Yes, I believe it's also, yes, it's on the road as well. It's almost the exact same circumstance. And with Gabriel being in concussion protocol.
A similar situation to Jackson Dart. Sorry to interrupt, but
Yeah.
Dart's first start on the road at the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah.
So a very similar situation where you kind of throw your rookie out there against a poor defense on the road, but it's an interesting challenge.
Yeah, Darts did not go well. They had 4 turnovers in that game. But Shuck's performance went really well. And with the way Gabriel had played up until that point, he doesn't have to blow the doors off. Like, I think some people are asking from him and expecting 300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 70% completion percentage, just a perfect A-plus game against a really bad, because the team is so bad. If we're supposed to be a potential top 5 pick, you should be able to do that. No, that's insane. He just has to play better than Gabriel, and he will probably still be the starter when Gabriel returns from concussion protocol, because Dylan was terrible. I mean, Dylan had multiple. Not that this is a way to analyze quarterbacks, but he has multiple TikToks with millions of views of these are the worst throws I saw this weekend in the NFL. And it was Dylan Gabriel for 7 straight throws because they were some of the worst throws you've seen from the NFL that weekend. Shador just has to have a good performance. He can't look like that. He can't have 25% completion percentage. He's obviously got to protect the football. But if he looks fine, then he gets to play. I feel like you continue to start him, and then we'll see what we have going into next season, because they'll have another first-round pick from Jacksonville, and they'll be up there in that top 10 still, even with their record. And so they should be pretty set with if they need a quarterback in the draft. If they want to go get Fernando Mendoza or Ty Simpson, they can do that. But Shador will have his opportunity on Sunday. That being said, it sucks because he missed the opportunity really anyway. He comes into the game in the second half. They lead by 6 against Baltimore. That Lamar is having his worst game of the season, and he couldn't score a point. 3 and out, interception, 3 and out, and a 3 and out or 4 and out because they turned it over on downs.
Yeah,
those were his 4 drives. Even if you hadn't had any reps with the starters, I expected, obviously but many expected, you would have expected more.
Yeah.
I really wished he would, even if he had those stats and held on to the lead and won the game, we're talking about really kind of a different light of it.
Maybe
but he missed that opportunity.
From the graveyard.
No, I wouldn't say that. They're a long way away from that.
Okay, if Shador Sanders plays really well this weekend against the Raiders, and I mean, there's an argument to be made that the quarterback change and finding your guy is enough to revive you from the graveyard. We'll save that conversation for when we know how he plays.
Yeah.
But that may be my biggest issue next week.
They'd be 3-8 if they beat the Raiders.
I'm not saying, they're definitely not in playoff contention, but hope in Cleveland could abound if Shador turns out to be the guy next week. I think that, I don't have anything to say about the situation, like I said a minute ago, because Dylan Gabriel was in with that offense and looked bad. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Dylan Gabriel is an awful quarterback. I think that it's a bad offense, and I think he's a rookie. They got put in a bad spot. His weapons are Jerry Jeudy and Harold Fannin. And then Quinshon Judkins out of the backfield. It's not a offense that has looked good under any quarterback. Joe Flacco looked bad and then has had a couple good games at the Bengals. He's thrown to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, so there's a big difference there. But I want a larger sample size from Shador Sanders before I even begin to have thoughts about that. But I would love for me to be right. and him not look good, but I don't want him to end up being bad. Like, if he's bad, then cool, I was right. But I would love for him to figure it out and get something going in Cleveland.
Yeah.
As a kind of a Cleveland fan, I was a Cleveland fan from like 2018 to I was a Baker Mayfield Cleveland fan.
Who wasn't?
Yeah, because that was like when I first started getting into mock drafts, and like I mocked Baker to Cleveland, and I remember watching that and like losing my mind because I called it. And then I'm sure that in hindsight he was probably the favorite to go first. I think maybe Darnold might have actually been up there.
I don't think he was the favorite to go first because I still remember being kind of shocked that he was number 1 overall.
Oh, then I'm a seer.
So then yes, maybe.
I
don't think he was the odds-on favorite though.
Yeah.
Darnold, I know, was pretty much not the consensus, but he was pretty close to being the number 1 quarterback for sure. So I think it was a shock, but it's not like he was outside of the top 10 in projections.
Yeah,
But I definitely remember being shocked.
Yeah,
that they drafted him number 1.
I was not, because I predicted it in one of my first as I became aware of mock drafts and doing all that, and then when they got at 4 they drafted the cornerback out of Ohio, Denzel Ward. They drafted him. I was like, oh shoot, like this is kind of sick. And then they go get Nick Chubb, who at that was early Kirby Smart era.
Yeah.
I was still a Georgia fan. I liked Mark Richt, Georgia. And so I'm not a huge Georgia fan now because they're good, and I hate seeing one team be good for forever. But I liked Mark Richt at Georgia, and so continued to kind of like root for Georgia and liked Nick Chubb and Sony Michel in that backfield. And so they drafted Nick Chubb, and I was like, this is electric. And then a couple years later, they get OBJ, Jarvis Landry, reunite that college duo. I was like, this team is so fun. And then they just sucked. So they get to the playoffs. Sucked is a strong term.
They made to the playoffs.
Yeah,
won
sucked
a game.
is a strong term. They underperformed and under-delivered on expectations.
Sure.
But that is my Cleveland fandom story. Fake football happened Sunday morning. The Commanders. Are we to the point where we can call it international football, not real football? Like Thursday night football and international football, I feel like are in the same vein of not real football.
I don't know. It feels like you're watching. This is like the 11 o'clock SEC Network game. And
Auburn, Kentucky.
Yeah, it's like Auburn, Kentucky. It's State, Arkansas. It's something like that, and you are comparing it to what the slate ended up turning out to be, looking like a 6:30 ABC game with the SEC teams, with the Oklahoma-Bama game this past weekend. That's what it feels like you're comparing it to, and that's what it was. It was terrible. Devon Achane was a great sight to see, and glad that he's healthy after he got knocked out of the game for a second there. Mariota was really, really good all day until he wasn't, and throws the pick to Jack Jones, trying to feed it to Zach Ertz, and the Dolphins end up kicking the field goal to win the game. But it just doesn't feel it doesn't have the hype by any means, and because it's standalone, everyone's watching it, and so it more so feels like the old Thursday Night Football, where it was 2 terrible teams on Thursday night. No one watched it except for sickos because they love football.
Yeah.
But poor Jack for his Commanders, I guess. Their draft pick gets better now, but it's still it hurts to see your team lose every weekend. And if he was here, I'd be curious to see if he is fully accepted, at least at this point, the tank, and was actually happy with the result, even though the way it went was really, really brutal. They have a game-winning field goal attempt. Matt Gay misses yet another field goal, and it goes into overtime, and Dolphins get another win. Mike McDaniel gets another win. They have now won 3 of their last 4. They play the Saints and Jets the next 2 weeks. They could be 6 wins and have one more loss than that. And then they'll have the Steelers, Bengals, Bucks, Patriots. So this is a team that it probably won't compete for a playoff spot, given how really competitive the wildcard spots are on both sides this year, but specifically the AFC, because you're competing for the AFC wildcard with the Jaguars, the Chargers, the Chiefs, the Ravens, or the Steelers, whichever team doesn't win that division, it's going to be really, really competitive. So I don't know if they can make a postseason run, but there is not really an outside chance that Mike McDaniel is back next year.
You said there isn't. Wait, are you saying he?
I think there's a really good chance he's back next year, and Tua is.
Yeah,
because I think they can continue to go on a run. They already got a big win against the Bills. Really shocked the Falcons about a month ago, and then another win against Commanders, whichever way you want to put it. They go into their bye, then they'll host the Saints. They beat the Jets. They have 7 losses, 6 wins. Who's to say they can't get to a winning record or be 8-9? Is that enough to keep Mike McDaniel around for another year? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think they expected to lose a bunch of these games, and Mike McDaniel would be fired at this point. Like the Falcons win, it was a shock. The Bills win, of course, was a shock. And then you think maybe you lose this game to Jaden Daniels and you fire a coach already.
Yeah.
But he's kind of kept his job, and Tua's kept his job for this point. Dolphins are just going to be in the same spot next year, it seems like, at this point, if they keep those two around. If nothing's going to change, that's just the definition of insanity.
Yeah. I have wiped all memories of the Chargers-Jaguars game from my mind, so I kind of forgot we played Sunday until now, seeing the box score. If you have anything to say about that, go for it.
Yeah, Justin Herbert is on pace to set the NFL record for the most times being hit in a season and the most times being pressured in a season. The offensive line play has been absolutely brutal.
Historically bad. I mean, clearly, if he's on pace to break records.
He's being forced to make kind of difficult throws a ton throughout the game. He gets benched by the end of this game. And he's 10 for 18 for 81 yards and a pick. Has 3 rushes for 21 yards. They had, as a team, running backs had 20 rushing yards against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So couldn't even get anything on the ground going. So normally, even sometimes with bad offensive lines, you'll have, they're bad in one facet. Like they can't pass protect. They're bad when they have to back up when they're on their heels. But when they're pushing forward on the run, they're really, really good. Like the Jets are a really good run offensive line. Armand Membu is a great running offensive tackle. But when they drop back to pass, it's not as great. And so Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor have gotten lit up this season. Chargers right now, it's just both.
Yeah.
And it's because you're playing a ton of backups, because you have lost Joe Alt, because you've basically Mekhi Becton might as well just be out forever because the dude plays a series and then is hurt again. And, of course, the Rashawn Slater injury at the beginning of the year. I wouldn't quit on this team really whatsoever. They still have a really big trump card in the win over Kansas City, but this one hurts them because they're going to be fighting with Jacksonville for a wildcard spot. I don't think the Chargers are going to catch the Denver Broncos.
I don't think
I'd
so
be
either.
surprised. They do have a win over Denver right now, and they will play Denver again at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm. In Denver.
In Denver. And so if they can get to the point where they're just a game behind Denver at that point, a win puts them in, not only in, but they win the division because they have the tiebreaker straight up. So they're kind of technically 1.5 games back of Denver right now. So it's not out of the picture for Los Angeles to win the division, but you can't have confidence after the way last week went. That being said, it was again another 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time kick for the Chargers, so a 10 a.m. body clock kick for the Chargers. They've had 3 of those games this year. Giants, Titans, Jaguars. The Giants one, of course, they lost. The Titans one was pretty close until the fourth quarter, and then they kind of stretched away, and then the loss to the Jaguars. Yeah. So it may just be that. It may just be they aren't ready and don't get up to play that early in the day, and they won't have another one of those this year. Technically, They'll have one in Dallas, but Dallas will be in Central Time, so it's kind of similar. So they have one more technically 10 o'clock body clock kick game against the Cowboys. But other than that, they won't have that again this year. So maybe you could knock it up to that. They'll bye week.
Yeah.
You hope to get healthy.
Bye week is huge because you take this bye week, you figure out how to clone Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater and get both of them back. No, the bye week is big. Marion Hampton is expected to return. He was not listed as out for the season.
Yeah.
Alt and Slater both gone for the season. But maybe you can get your rookie running back, your first-round guy back, and he can create a run game out of nowhere. And if you create a run game out of nowhere, defense have to respect the run, which makes Herbert's job of passing the ball a lot easier because he's not having to deal with a defense that has to respect, like, zero respect for the run. But bye week is huge for sure.
Yeah, and on the other hand, it wasn't – the defense didn't show up, but in large part the defense could not get off the field, especially we talk about with Georgia, the long, tantalizing drives that they go on. Jacksonville had, let's see, 1, 2, 3. They had 6. They had more than 6. They had 7 drives longer than 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So that defense was just on the field the entire game. That's really crushing. And that defense can be really, really good. But if they're going to be on the field that long, it's just going to be a tough one. They were on the field for 38 minutes in this game. And so I wouldn't chalk it up on the defense either. I wouldn't give up on this team really whatsoever. Like Sanders said, if you're the Chargers, do what he did. Just watch it from your memory. Go back and watch the highlights from a different game this season, and look
the Chiefs game. Go back and watch the Chiefs game.
Yeah, there you go. Look to respond next week after the bye week against the Raiders, and then they'll host the Eagles on Monday Night Football. This team is likely going to make the postseason, but that Jacksonville win does not help them whatsoever. And on the Jacksonville side, the Jacksonville win over the Chargers is massive. It's actually critical. If they had lost that game, it's probably over for them making the postseason. Of course, the shocking loss to Davis Mills in the fourth quarter comeback last week. They now sit as the 7 seed. They have a head-to-head victory over the Chargers and a head-to-head victory over the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
They will play Houston again, so they don't own a head-to-head right now, but they will play Houston again, and it can be even there. This team, with that head-to-head victory over the Chargers and the Chiefs, if they can, all they got to do is be the same record as one of those two teams. They are in the postseason because of that. So they got to capitalize down the stretch. Josh Hines-Allen said they played pissed off on Sunday because of that loss to Davis Mills the week prior. And I'd hope that they can continue to channel that energy. And they still play the Titans twice in division. They play the Cardinals. They play the Jets. They will have to play the Colts twice. This is a team that I think can very easily slide into the 7 seed in division. And for Liam Cohen in the first year's the head coach, a playoff run is really, really good, especially when you lose your second overall pick in Travis Hunter for the season. They can still look at next year as a positive one. The big thing for Jacksonville is they have to avoid what happened last year and the year prior, where it just kind of slid and fell off the rails down the stretch of the season. They've got to continue to win big games.
Other games, Bucks-Bills. That's not a game we previewed, is it?
Nope.
Thoughts on that game? A big win for Josh Allen. He gets his second game with 3+ passing and 3+ rushing touchdowns. Is that right?
Yes. He's the only quarterback ever besides Otto Graham to do that. Otto Graham won a Super Bowl, or did not. Yeah, he won a Super Bowl with the Cleveland Browns back in it's either 50s or 60s.
I didn't think Cleveland ever won a Super Bowl.
Then it might have been an AFL championship.
That might make sense. So before the merger. That would make sense.
Before the merger. Yes, Josh Allen was absolutely incredible. I've kind of joked about maybe we'll have at the end of the year a competition for worst interception of the season, and we'll put up all our candidates and everything. We're no longer doing that. Josh Allen has it. Did you see his first pick?
No.
Go look it up right now. Josh Allen pick on either the first or the second drive. You have to watch it. Just go watch it. If you haven't seen the pick, you could turn on the highlights probably on YouTube of this game, and it's in the first 2 minutes because it's on either, I believe, their first series of the game. It is the worst pick of the season. It is indescribable. I will describe it. It's not indescribable. It's inexplicable. It can't happen. An MVP of the league can't do that. I don't care how good you think you are, and he thinks he's the greatest, and he rightfully so thinks that because maybe he is. But that is the worst interception of the season. I'm not sure if it's the worst one in the history of football. I'm sure there's great candidates for that. But my goodness. Essentially what happened is Josh is being pressured. He's about to be sacked. And he throws a chest pass like he's playing basketball with a football behind his receiver and directly to a Tampa Bay defender. This is fine no, it's not fine ever. But it would be more fine if he'd been in the red zone. No, he's inside his own 5-yard line when he makes this throw.
He's in the end zone when he throws
Exactly. And he shovel pass. It was a basketball chest pass to the Tampa Bay defender. Thankfully for Buffalo, they somehow force a field goal out of that, and Tampa Bay only takes the lead 3-0 instead of 7-0. But that is the worst interception of the season.
You know what's crazy?
What?
He's not even throwing it to the guy coming from the top down. He's throwing it to the guy down here. Watch his eyes. He never looks to his right. He's staring at. Is that Palmer? Josh Palmer,
yes,
number
that's
5.
Josh Palmer.
He's staring at him the whole way. So I mean, it was just gonna be in the dirt if the other wide receiver and cornerback are not coming down. That is crazy.
I don't believe he was trying to throw it away either. I think he thought he could get it to him, and he missed so badly that he's throwing to the wrong receiver and thus the wrong DB, and it ends up being picked. That's the worst pick of the season. He responded from that, though. Of course, he was hit with the 3 touchdowns, both on the ground and through the air. They couldn't really get James Cook going with Vita Vea and that Buccaneers run defense and Levante David. James Cook only had 16 carries for 48 yards, 3 yards per carry, and a long of 8. We've thought of James Cook this season, and a ton of his work is he will pop off like a 24-yard run. They'll have a huge hole. He'll find 16 yards. 8 yards was the longest carry he had all day. On a windy and cold day in Buffalo, you need more than that, but I call that a matchup thing. They'll have another one of those later this year when Philly comes to town, and I'm really curious to see how they handle that. There aren't a ton of teams in their way towards the Super Bowl that are going to have huge guys in the middle that can really shut down the run, but one of the teams that, like, at least at this point, I don't remember what the playoff picture is right now, but it's Denver's the 1 seed. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so if they were to play the New England Patriots, which is very possible, New England's the best rush defense in the NFL. And New England, of course, has already beat Buffalo. That's going to be a problem, I think, maybe at some point, is if they can't find any success running the ball. Josh Allen can be ridiculous, but he can also, at least this season and much of his career outside of last season, turn the ball over a ton in key moments, and that can't happen, especially once you get to the postseason. That's how they've lost their 3 games this year, is turnovers. They had 2 turnovers against the Atlanta Falcons. They had 2 turnovers against the New England Patriots, and they had 2 turnovers against the Dolphins. That's how they lose games, is by turning the ball over and then not being able to find success with their offense. they are very, very predicated on we can score 7 points every time we touch the football. But if you give the other team the ball and you spot them 10 points yourself, and let's say you have an off day and you only score 50% of the time, you only score 28 points, but you spotted the other team 10, now that opposing offense only has to score 19 points, it's only 3 scoring drives for the opposing team. The opposing team can go 3 for 9 and beat you. So they've got that problem going forward, and it may end up costing them the playoffs. But Josh Allen's only lost to 2 quarterbacks ever in the postseason, Mahomes and Joe Burrow. And at this point, it's looking likely that neither of those teams are going to be in the postseason. Kansas City's still a slight favorite at 55% to make the postseason. Bengals season is toast. You still have to have confidence getting to the postseason. But I have more cause for concern with how that game went, especially with that opening series for Buffalo, than I do positive. On the Tampa Bay side, again, it's the same question we had going into this game was, do they have a problem against teams that are good? Against teams with winning records this year, they are 2-4 against teams with winning records this year. They are, of course, 4 wins, 4-0 against teams with losing records. The games that they're losing, they are in them down to the stretch, but Baker hasn't been able to put enough plays together to win them games, and they're also kind of getting decimated defensively. Buffalo this week was just absolutely incredible. Buffalo had 414 total yards, and then last week New England was incredible offensively against Tampa Bay. New England had 435 yards. That is really, really tough for Tampa Bay and Todd Bowles and that defense as a head coach, being a defensive coach. That's going to be a problem going forward, and now they'll have to play probably the hottest and maybe the best offense in the league this coming weekend in the Los Angeles Rams, and they're staring down the barrel of 6-5. They have a really, really weak schedule to finish it out, so they are going to win this division. Carolina Panthers fans will probably disagree, but I don't think Carolina is going to compete for this division at all. Tampa Bay is going to win this division. Maybe they're looking at the 4 seed again, and they have a good chance to win that first playoff game. But this team is having a problem with really good teams, and Buffalo again showed that. Now I think Los Angeles, spoiler alert, I think is going to show that again on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah. Chromie has asked, would you rather have Josh Allen, Maurice Jones-Drew, or 9? And I think it's because him
For
typing.
what?
I have no idea. Fantasy.
Yeah, for what? If you don't mind.
That is relevant.
The general assumption would be to play quarterback. And if it was to play quarterback, then Josh Allen. But if it was for something else, there's definitely a debate for Maurice Jones-Drew or, as you say, 9, the alias of J.J. McCarthy.
It just occurred to me, I don't know why, but like Ocho Cinco, that's just what 8-1
8-5.
8-5. Thank you. I don't know
His
Spanish. It just like I don't know. I just think it's funny that we had a guy who went by a number, and now we've got another guy who goes by a number. All-time aura contest. I do not think that J.J. McCarthy has aura. I think the 9 thing is goofy. I don't think it's dumb, but I definitely think it's aura. I think it's just a goofball thing, but not a negative goofball, just goofball. Kind of like Jamal Williams, goofball.
I'm going to take Josh Allen slightly.
I would agree.
I think JJ and his alias 9 do have aura, but I think Josh has a deeper pedigree.
Yeah.
And if it's a rich tapestry that we're picking from, I would favor Josh Allen there. JJ's still got a lot of years to go, and so maybe this is a debate further down the road, and we're talking about like this is Michael Jordan compared to LeBron in Miami, and LeBron hasn't had his run with Cleveland yet or with the Los Angeles Lakers, and so then it can become really a debate in a decade. But at this point, I'd pick Josh Allen.
I can't wait to clip this and take out the aura stuff, and so it's just JP talking about J.J. McCarthy being LeBron in Miami and Josh Allen being MJ, and we're just waiting for the J.J. breakout.
J.J.'s time in Miami, like LeBron. J.J.'s time in Michigan is like LeBron's time in Miami, and so we can't really have the debate yet if J.J. has more aura than Josh Allen, because Josh Allen has at least had all of Michael Jordan's career so far without the championships, which is a huge part to this equation. But I'd lean Josh Allen.
Have you seen some fan solutions to the J.J. McCarthy and his underwhelming quarterback play?
No.
Cut him, therefore making him washed. Immediately re-sign him and let Kevin O'Connell fix him.
Maybe trade him.
And then trade back for him?
Yeah, get him back. Like trade him to the New York Jets or the Browns. Let him have a terrible stinker year and then bring him back.
Yeah.
But the Vikings should go after Mac Jones this offseason. Do you see any potential with 9? Like no trouble? Do you see? I talked about it last week when they had lost to the Ravens, and then I talked about it especially after their win over the Lions. I do like what I see, and it's not a performance thing that I see. I see he controls the huddle really well. He goes up to the line of scrimmage, and he gets under center, and he's looking at the defense, and I can tell he doesn't look scared. He knows what he sees. He may like what he sees. He has great trust in his receivers. He's not afraid to hit his receivers, to give his receiver jump ball chances. He plays with a ton of confidence, and his teammates feed off of that, clearly. And especially in that, like, you have the viral clip where after the win over Detroit, where he's nodding his head and doing that. Cringy to some, cheesy to others, or aura to others as well. I think it just shows that he plays with a ton of confidence. We have to remember, and this is what I've said almost every time we brought him up, he's starting in his 7th or 6th game so far as an NFL starter. I might actually be his 5th this past weekend. And he's had a ton of time derailed due to injury, a ton of development derailed due to injury. A lot of last season he was not on the sideline. He got more on the sideline towards the end of the year, but when you're hurt, you're not really there with the team a ton. And so he's lost that development piece. He's lost that chance to build chemistry with his teammates.
Yeah, he just started in his 5th.
Yeah, he just started in his
0 games last year.
NFL game as a starter. And what he is, he's 3. Yeah, he's 3-2. No, he's 2-3. 2-3. He was led a game-winning drive against Chicago, and then he had a pretty solid game against the Detroit Lions. I think he's got a lot of promise. The kid's a winner. That was the biggest trait that was given to him in his pre-draft process, that he's a winner. And while his stats weren't tremendous at Michigan, he wins games. I see that. I just don't think they've won enough games yet. And he's once he gets through this season, the Viking season is over, at least for playoff prospects, in my opinion. Right now they sit at 4-6. That's 11th in the NFC, and these are the 3 wild card teams in the NFC right now: the Seahawks, the Packers, and the 49ers. And the 49ers have a really weak schedule. The 3 teams above the Vikings are the Detroit Lions, who aren't even in the postseason right now, Carolina, who has 2 more wins than you, and the Dallas Cowboys. You get to play Dallas eventually at some point, but you're going to have to play your division a ton, and all 3 of the teams in your division are above you. 2 of them are already in the postseason. This season's pretty much over. Let them continue to play, though, develop, and then I think you give him all of next year to really decide if he's the guy going forward for Kevin O'Connell. But with his injury concerns, you can't afford to not have somebody in-house ready to go, because the team is and Kevin O'Connell, is too good to not have an option. So I would attack Mac Jones in the offseason and bring him in as the quarterback, because Wentz played fine, but then Wentz got hurt and he was forced to play hurt, and just it's really brutal for him. I think JJ and 9 have a chance, but the biggest thing is JJ has to improve his baseline as JJ McCarthy. So when you have a weekend where 9, his alias, doesn't come out, it doesn't look like it did this past weekend where he had like 86 passing yards in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Like that can't happen, and then you turn it on the fourth. You need to – your baseline can't be 86 passing yards through 3 quarters. It needs to be 150, and then you get into the fourth, and you throw for 150, and you get to 300 yards. I think he's still got a bright future, but he's got to improve his baseline. But then again, all that being said, it's his 5th game as a starter. Give him time.
Yep. That is all the. I mean, Bears beat the Vikings.
Yeah, another
that's what we just.
come behind
we were
victory.
kind of talking about that, but not the game. Just JJ McCarthy.
Caleb got his 5th game-winning drive this season. It's the most by a Bears quarterback since the merger in a single season. He's off of pace for 4,000 passing yards right now, but the Bears continue to be clutch down the stretch of the game. This one wasn't necessarily Caleb being clutch. This time it was Devin Duvernay and the huge kick return that ends up winning it for him. But Chicago's 7-3, and they lead the NFC North.
Go ahead.
Chromie said, fair. That makes sense. I think that's a fair analysis. I appreciate that.
Do we want to move on to the games we previewed? Do you have anything else you want to hit? Let's see. The first game that we previewed was Seahawks-Rams. So we can start there. A matchup between 2 elite teams on your pyramid. I believe the Rams were Tier 1 and the Seahawks were Tier 2.
In this week's pyramid and the last week's pyramid, it was Seattle Tier 1 and the Rams Tier 2. Did
I just spoil
Yeah, you just spoiled it. It's fine.
I got it mixed up.
I made the spoiler by following through on it.
I get as the guy who puts in the graphics, I get mixed up from week to week. But a big game. Yes, Samuel Darnold. Was this his stinker game?
Yes, he was. He played his worst game of the season without a doubt. The interceptions he threw are inexplicable. They're terrible. There's no defending it. His footwork was terrible. He got happy feet. He forced so many throws. He forces throws to young guys, like the pick he throws to the second pick for Kitchens, the Rams DB. He's trying to throw an inside dig route or post route to Elijah Arroyo. And Arroyo, according to at least Greg Olson, is saying that Elijah is supposed to cut really hard to the inside. Well, he's a rookie. He's a second-round pick rookie. He's not going to be perfect. And so Darnold is expecting him to make a move like a 7-year veteran tight end would make, and it's a rookie instead. And so he doesn't make the move, and he throws a pick directly to the defensive back. That's one of his picks. His first pick is terrible. He's on his heels. He's on his back foot. Doesn't get enough on the ball, and a DB in the center reads it perfectly, picks him off. Darnold was terrible with his interceptions. But outside of that, he was 29 for 40. Outside of the interceptions, he was 29 for 40 for 279 yards. Didn't get in the end zone because the Rams were stymieing them the entire game. Once they got inside the 40-yard line, Seattle was forced to settle for 4 field goals in this game before finally scoring a touchdown at the end. Darnold was really, really good outside of the 4 picks. Seattle was amazing defensively, and Darnold plays his worst game of the season, and they have a game-winning field goal attempt, albeit a 61-yarder, to beat quite possibly the best team in football, or one of them, in the Los Angeles Rams. I thought this was just a classic showdown between the two teams. I think both teams can very, very easily swing this of, we didn't play our best football for the Rams. We didn't play our best football. And they said that directly. Davante Adams said in the postgame press conference that we felt like we played like ass. Direct quote. So I'm allowed to say it. I apologize for cursing. They played terrible, essentially, is what he's saying. And yet they still won. And that's how he put it. Seattle, like I just said, Darnold plays his worst game of the season, and yet they still had a game-winning field goal attempt. So both teams, I think, are going to take this game and swing it in a really positive, hopium manner going forward. For me, I would not panic on Sam Darnold in Seattle because, like I said, if you go watch the game, if you somehow watch the game and you didn't get the context of the 4 picks, like if you watched the full replay and the 4 picks were just taken out of the replay, you wouldn't think he played bad, really, for the entire game. In fact, I thought he played really, really well against one of the best front sevens in football. He was challenging the DBs a ton. Jackson Smith-Njigba has another incredible game, 105 yards through the air on 12 targets. A.J. Barner was really good, 10 for 70. But I have to give, for me, the biggest credit of this game goes to the Los Angeles Rams DBs. That was one thing Jack and I highlighted in the preview was going to be a really cause for concern for the Rams because their DBs have been really, really bad, not only this year but throughout their careers, and that includes state legend Emmanuel Forbes. Emmanuel Forbes was incredible in this game. He stops a touchdown to Rashid Shaheed. He doesn't have another pick, but Cameron Kitchens ends up with 2 picks in this game, and Kobe Durant ends up having a pick in this game as well. They were the 3 DBs, Kitchens the safety.
Kobe Durant or Kobe Bryant?
Kobe Durant.
Okay.
Is his name. 14, Kobe Durant has a pick in this game. Forbes stops a touchdown with a pass deflection. I give all the credit to the Rams DBs for the way that they played in this game. Cam Curl as well. The safety ends up leading the team in tackles. They played really, really well against one of the best offenses so far this season. Seattle, all that being said, though, was able to get what they wanted offensively. It's another one of those box scores, which I feel like we've seen so much of this year, where Seattle had 26 first downs to Rams 12. They were better on third down. They converted 7 to the Rams 2. They had a better percentage on fourth down, 1 out of 1 versus 2 out of 3. More total yards, 414 to 249. Dominate the time of possession, 38 minutes to 22 minutes. They essentially tie on penalties. But the biggest difference was in the red zone, the Rams were 3 for 4 scoring touchdowns. Seattle was 1 for 4. That changed the game entirely. If the Rams don't, or if the Seattle Seahawks don't settle for field goals, they win a game convincingly on the road with Sam Darnold throwing 4 picks. And so I wouldn't panic on Seattle. You're going to say that's hypocrisy later on when you see the pyramid. I'll explain that, though, when we get there. But I have full confidence in Seattle going forward. And I'm glad that Darnold got to get one of these games out of his system. And you hope that this, of course, doesn't continue to occur. But Seattle is chilling. And they've got a really easy schedule going forward at Tennessee this coming weekend. Hosting the Vikings, who their season is done. Like I said, they go to the Atlanta Falcons on December 7th. And then they will get to rematch against the Rams and a rematch against the Niners. And they can hopefully get wins in both of those games because they lost those 2 games. That's the only concern at this point is they may not be able to compete for the division because they've lost to the Rams and Niners already.
Yeah.
If they can, even up those 2, they are very in line for the division. But I wouldn't panic on Seattle. I give a ton of credit to the Rams DBs, and I really think this is a game that both teams are going to try to spin in a really positive manner, in a really hopium manner. All that being said, incredible game, incredible watch. Joe Davis was still biased to the Los Angeles Dodgers in this game somehow, and I didn't misspeak there. I didn't mean Los Angeles Rams. No, he was still biased to Los Angeles Dodgers in this game.
That's kind of impressive that he could portray that in a football game.
It's just exactly how it sounded. He's getting on my nerves. He, as a play-by-play announcer, like Joe Tessitore, gets on my nerves in a similar manner. but it's because Joe Tessitore will call a Week 3 game between. I don't think they called this game this year, but if they did, a Week 3 game between Alabama and Wisconsin this year, like it is the national championship.
He cares.
When it's a Week 3 game between Alabama and Wisconsin. I love it when he gets to the postseason, and when it was Week 1, when it's Florida State and Alabama, and both this game means so much for these two programs. That makes sense.
Turns out it did not mean a lot for Florida State.
It turns out it didn't, but at the time it did.
Yeah. And
he was the perfect guy to be on the call of that game.
Yeah.
Joe Davis doesn't have that, and so I think he's even worse because when we get to the big games, he really annoys me, sadly, and he was biased to the Dodgers in this one, just like he was in the World Series. But those are kind of my takeaways from the Seahawks-Rams game. Terrible uniform matchup. What are we doing? Why are the Rams copying the Los Angeles Chargers?
Yeah. The black? They wore the black?
They wore the black. Now, the Chargers don't have the black. They have the navy, the ones that they wore.
Yeah.
But it just felt like they were trying to copy them because they hadn't introduced this kind of uniform.
The Chargers probably just left their uniforms in the lockers, and the Rams just used them when they got there.
It looked that way. And then Seattle, on the other hand, wears white with their navy helmet and navy shorts, and it was just really, really hard to see the players. And I wish that should be one where it's white and white on the black. All white versus all black will never be a bad uniform matchup. This one was, and that was really hard to watch. It's one of the least satisfying for the eyes games of the weekend, I'd say.
Yeah.
But for Seattle, everything's still in front of them. Don't panic. Los Angeles, spoiler alert, is the best team in football.
Yeah. Talking about jerseys, me and Jack had an interesting conversation. I think it was this weekend, and I explained some of my opinions on jerseys. I don't like all these alternate jerseys where teams are just introducing new colors. I don't have a problem with throwing in like a camo accent for a military appreciation weekend, gold for the Egg Bowl, things like that. But when you just start introducing new colors, like Ole Miss, and they wear like 8 different shades of blue now. I'm like, your color is this blue,
yeah,
and instead you're wearing all these other blues. I forget who did it. It was like sometimes these City Connect jerseys. I think City Connect jerseys are getting a little out there in the NBA and in the MLB. Some of them are definitely neat, but like I think it's all just someone pointed out to me that it's all a scam because the more cool, different jerseys that Fanatics makes, the more they can sell. Because now you have to get the 2025 City Connect, and now you have to get the 2026 City Connect, and now you have to get the military appreciation. It's just like there's so many jerseys that they can try and sell and charge $150 for. Like,
yeah, one of them, like the Milwaukee Bucks blue uniform.
Yeah, why are they wearing blue?
I don't know. Blue is not in their historic.
Milwaukee is cold, and blue looks icy.
It wasn't even about ice. They were making this play. Blue is not a historic color.
Yeah. For
the Milwaukee Bucks, they have been. They're green, they're dark black.
Yeah.
And they have occasionally had a little bit of orange accent on it. Like they wore that blue uniform. It makes no sense.
And then I didn't realize I was complaining about this during baseball season because the Red Sox wear blue and yellow, which apparently that is historic.
That one is. Yes.
Did not know that because as long as I have known, they've worn the red and blue. Mm-hmm. But that I owe Red Sox fans an apology for that one. But I think that you should have your colors. You can wear black or white, right?
Yeah, that's the only time I'm okay with that.
Everyone's allowed to wear black or white. I used to be okay with like wearing gray if you wanted, but I've actually flipped on that to where I'm kind of like, why do you need gray? Like State wore I think all gray jerseys several 10 years ago, and as a kid I was like, this looks sick. And now I realize that I have turned old and been like, well, now it's ugly. You should wear your colors with occasional like the standard being like camo for military stuff, pink for October. I wish the NFL still did push that.
Same.
That's really sad they don't do that anymore as much. Players still do it, but I can remember growing up, it was like a huge deal.
Yeah.
I just feel like things are getting out of hand with jerseys and all that, and I really wish I could remember which game we were watching that made me say that. Because the team was wearing a color, and it's just like, why are we wearing this? Maybe it was a Spurs game. Do the Spurs wear some weird colors?
They kind of have like a cream one that they'll wear, but Spurs really have been pretty traditional. They would have a camo one they would wear every once in a while.
What's their City Connect? Does it have like pink?
It has a little bit of pink accent in it.
Yeah.
But it's really kind of like
because San Antonio is such a pink, and makes sense.
I don't know. Jack would have to describe that more to you, but I completely agree there. I think the only color you should be allowed to do it in is you do it in your primary, and then you can do the all whites and the all blacks.
Yeah.
I think those are fine. But other than that, it's really unnecessary. Baseball, of course, all their away uniforms, they do the all gray for the most part. That's fine. But other than that, it's really
How do you
really
feel
tough.
about Atlanta? Because y'all City Connects are like, you've got two different colored shoulders?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're historic. Are you talking about the Atlanta Braves?
Yes. Braves.
Yes, the Atlanta Braves. That one's a historic one. It's a playoff and old uniform. I really like the Atlanta City Connect uniforms.
Yeah. the Padres had the classic pink, turquoise, white.
The Atlanta Hawks City Connect uniforms are terrible, though.
Yeah, pink, turquoise, and white. Why is that our City Connect jersey? Who knows?
No clue. Those are really... Do you like those?
I will say this. If this was like an intramural jersey, it looks really cool.
Yeah.
It pops, but it makes no sense for the Padres.
Makes sense as an ultimate Frisbee.
Exactly, an ultimate
uniform.
Frisbee jersey or an ultimate, like an intramural, softball team. Like the colors do look really clean and they complement each other and it's kind of fun, but it doesn't make any sense for the Padres to be wearing them. And the same goes, in my opinion, for the Chargers introducing, I do think that those uniforms looked really cool, the navy blues, but why? But also the Chargers wore navy blue in the past. Like they had the dark blue navy helmets, so that's different. But I'm just like, why do we always need to be introducing new concepts and new uniforms and new this? Just find something that looks good and wear that.
Agreed.
Because then when everyone in the crowd is wearing clothes that look like, if they all wear, at State, if State introduces a bunch of new colors and grays and an occasional, we're gonna wear green this week because we're an agricultural school. Then everyone in the crowd who bought shirts at different home games, it looks bad. That's my little rant.
State should get cow uniforms. That would be crazy.
That would actually with the cowbells, would that go hard?
I don't know. I'd have to see.
When you say cow uniform, I assume you're thinking white with black spots.
Yes, like the Chick-fil-A cow. They look like that.
Quick, let me go patent that real quick before somebody steals it.
You get Chick-fil-A to sponsor it too. Once we get down that route of football, where sponsorships are on the uniforms, you just have.
It's already happening. LSU's already signed deals.
We'll have Chick-fil-A as our
as a cow
sponsor for our cow uniforms.
Also, I was thinking about this the other day because I've been watching our basketball team. Do you remember the Adidas uniforms that they rolled out for a week last year and then went away? The ugly ones.
No, not the.
We didn't
what
wear
color
them.
were they?
We didn't wear them. Other schools wore them. So they were Adidas.
Oh yeah.
And I think we were gonna wear them, but I think that the feedback from every school was so awful that Adidas stopped revealing them. And so
they made the right choice.
A&M wore them, Indiana wore them, Kansas wore them, and it looked like you were in a bib with a tiny little logo up on the top, over your heart. Yeah. And then your number on the back, and it just looked so atrocious. And I think that they were going to be coming here, and then Adidas was like, everyone said these look horrendous, and Adidas realized it was bad for marketing, so they shut it down, which I'm very grateful for because they look bad. A dodged bullet in the jersey department. Did Detroit, Philadelphia?
Let's do KC first.
Yes. Okay. KC at Denver.
The Kansas City Chiefs went into Denver off the bye week. Andy Reid, at this point in his career, had the third best record off of a bye in his career. He had been nothing short of incredible. I think he was 13-4 off of a bye coming into this game. Denver 8-2, Kansas City 5-4. They still play each other twice, so in theory they are tied especially if Kansas City were to win the 2 games, then Kansas City takes the lead, and they would win the division. Kansas City had all of the things going towards their way. Denver looks terrible on Thursday Night Football the week prior against the Las Vegas Raiders, but Denver does get the mini bye, so they get rested up. Kansas City comes into this game, and they can't get it done. Mahomes is bad. He's outplayed by Bo Nix. Many thought that was impossible. Kansas City couldn't really get what they wanted offensively for a lot of critical moments. There are a ton of field goals in this game, and Denver ends up kicking the game-winning field goal. This time it is not blocked. This time Denver blocks an extra point, which allows them to end up tying the game and then kick the game-winning field goal. And just what a performance from the Denver Broncos, especially offensively. Bo Nix was incredible all day. It is the first time, including this season and last year, where any quarterback has completed multiple 3rd and 10s or longer in the fourth quarter versus Kansas City.
3rd and 10?
3rd and 10 or longer. And Bo Nix did it twice, including a 3rd and 16 in this game. He was absolutely incredible. It's a game that, like, right off the bat, it feels like a playoff game with Jim Nantz, Tony Romo on the call. It feels like it has that kind of heightened impact because it does. First play of the game, Bo Nix drops back to pass. He's sacked immediately in the backfield, and it's 2nd and 16 almost immediately. Denver completes 2 quick passes right back. On a 3rd and 11, Bo Nix finds Cortland Sutton down the field, and Denver turns the first play of the game, a sack, into 3 points. On the ensuing possession for the Kansas City Chiefs, Mahomes is able to find Rice on the first pass, and then a play in your opening series, your opening script that you script up, you have a look that you like. Xavier Worthy is wide open over the top, and once again we see Patrick Mahomes miss a deep ball over the top, and just like that, it goes from it should be 7-0 Kansas City, but it's 3-0 Denver. Denver goes down, kicks another field goal. Kansas City's able to respond. Becomes a field goal fest. But we get into the fourth quarter, and I think the biggest thing about this game is what a credit to Denver for responding with momentum against them. They take the lead early in the fourth quarter with a field goal, 16-13, and then Kansas City does what they've done their entire dynastic run with Mahomes and Kelsey. Legends make legendary plays. Mahomes finds Kelsey. Kelsey scampers into the end zone. Kansas City takes the lead.
I thought it was going to be over at that
exactly.
point. Because I was like, well, Kansas City and Mahomes and Kelsey did it again.
And Denver gets the ball right back, and they go 3 and out. Now you really think it's over. But credit to Denver's defense. They force a 3 and out. And then they get the ball back, go down the field, kick a game-tying field goal. And then, again, Kansas City, for the second possession in a row, has the ball with either the lead or it's tied and a chance to go win the game for sure. 3 and out again for Mahomes and the Chiefs. And then Bo Nix is absolutely phenomenal on his final drive. A 3rd and 15. He completes a 20-yard pass to Sutton. And then a beautiful ball down the field to Troy Franklin on 2nd and 8. A 32-yard pass inside, or he has outside leverage from the corner, throws it to the inside shoulder, puts him in field goal range, and the Denver Broncos defeat the Kansas City Chiefs in kind of a shocker. Sanders, you got thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts. The first of them being that I think Patrick Mahomes' glaze might be contagious. It's been a long-running thing with Chris Collinsworth, and then Tony Romo picked it up on Sunday. I was sitting there watching it with Jack. He'd come over to do show prep for a college football review show, and Mahomes throws that pick. They get over. It gets called back for something.
Yeah.
And I look at Jack, and I was like, only these announcers could be immediately start talking about Mahomes and him or something. And then later that drive, he throws the interception that doesn't get overturned and makes the tackle. And all that Tony Romo could talk about was how great it was by Mahomes that he got up and went and made that tackle.
Yeah.
And I was like, he just threw a pick. I get not dogging on him or whatever. That's fine. But to be highlighting, congrats, he cleaned up the mistake he made. I just think I thought that was really funny because I literally called it And in 5 seconds, I was like, he's going to start talking about Mahomes making that tackle. And he started talking about it. And I was like, I saw that one come a mile away. Another really tough, close loss for the Chiefs, which I cannot wait to see how this stat finishes out. But right now, the Chiefs are 0-5 in one-possession games.
Yep.
Last year, they were 12-0. And in the preview show, I said, I'm not going to predict them to go 0-12, but I think they're going to finish closer to 500 because in almost all things in the NFL, regression to average is expected. Offensive line play, right? If you continue to invest in an offensive line that's poor, it's going to regress to average. It's going to get better. And if you have an elite offensive line, you're going to lose guys in free agency because you can't pay them. You're going to regress to average. Almost all things will regress to the mean. And I expected the Kansas City's performance in one-possession games to do so because they won a lot of fluky ones. Blocked field goals, missed field goals, late things that just were unexpected and unpredictable went in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs last season, which led to them winning all those one-possession games. Now they're 0-5. And maybe they've lost a couple fluky ones, but it's been tough. It's been a tough road for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now they're 5-5. And in their division, they've lost to the Chargers. The Broncos, are they 1-2 in their division right now?
1-2, yes.
Because they beat the Raiders, but who hasn't beat the Raiders?
Yeah.
But
Still have to play all three teams.
yeah, the forecast playoffs, I was low on the Kansas City Chiefs coming into the season. I predicted the Broncos to win the AFC West, but I'm still scared of the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not going to lie, because I think they're the kind of team, kind of like the Cincinnati Bengals last year, in this manner. They're a team that you would be very scared of. The Kansas City Chiefs were scared of the Bengals last year, because this is a wild situation, because they let the Broncos win week 17 or week 18 so that they get in the playoffs, and the Bengals wouldn't let them win. They played their backups. But I think that the Chiefs, with Patrick Mahomes, like, nobody wants to play Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And so it's still, I mean, right now the standings are the Chiefs 9th, is that right?
They're 8th.
8th in the AFC, so they are just in the outside looking in. But with 3 games left to go against your division.
They are 9th, actually. Technically losing a tiebreaker to Houston.
Yes. Did they? But they do play, and they haven't played yet, right?
Correct.
So you'll have that opportunity to beat Houston. The Chargers are a wild card team right now. You still have the opportunity to play them again at home. The Broncos are, I guess, 4? I'm not going to talk about the Chiefs winning the division because that would take an implosion by the Broncos down the stretch. But you still have the chance to play the Chargers again. That'll be in Kansas City. You had the chance to play the Houston Texans. It's really unfortunate that right now you've already lost tiebreakers to the Bills and Jaguars. So you're kind of looking at, can we get the 7 seed?
Yeah. They need to go undefeated to guarantee. If they go 6-1, they are pretty much in, assuming Jacksonville doesn't go 6-1 themselves.
No, then they'd be tied at 11-6, right?
Or assuming Jacksonville doesn't go 4-2 themselves, then they would have the same amount of losses, but Jacksonville would have the tiebreaker with the head-to-head. They need to go 5-1. They need Jacksonville to kind of implode down the stretch, which is possible, but to go 6-1 is kind of a long shot because you just went 5-5.
Yeah.
And it's not like you don't have games left on your schedule that are not losable. You play the Colts off of a bye this Sunday. You will then play Dallas on Thanksgiving. You have to play that Houston Texans defense who could give you trouble at home on Sunday Night Football. You still have to play the Chargers again, and then you have to host the Broncos still on Christmas Day. It's a 55% chance, according to Vegas and other playoff predictors. That's about where it's at. I think that's a pretty accurate. It's a coin flip, really, if they're going to make the postseason or not. On the Denver side, and the one-score game thing, they're 7-2.
Yeah.
And so they are a team that maybe they could see a flip at the end of the season. They have 2 blowout wins, but other than that, they're 7-2 and they're 9-2 total. So that's 9 of their 11 games. And in this one, it really could have flipped very easily. R.J. Harvey tries to throw the ball back to Bo Nix at one point in this game. That should have been a pick 6, but Kansas City couldn't convert. They kind of get a few breaks here and there, especially with Mahomes throwing another red zone interception where he just throws it directly to the defensive back, which isn't necessarily a great play by the DB as much as it is just a terrible throw by Mahomes. I have to give them credit for forcing field goals, of course, from Kansas City and not allowing them to score touchdowns, but I wouldn't say that the book is quite written on Denver. One thing you can say about them right now is they're really, really good in the fourth quarter. They win the fourth quarter more times than not, and if you do that in games, especially games that are going to be close with a defense as good as it is, they're a team that is a force to be reckoned with going down the stretch. We'll see how they kind of respond once they get to the postseason because they got that one chance last year, and they were blown out by Buffalo. And I don't think anything's guaranteed for Denver. But it's a really, really impressive win. All that pressure goes to Kansas City. Like I said, they need to go 6-1 in all reality if they want to sneak in at the 7 or the 6 seed. But they're 5-5 at this point, and so nothing is guaranteed for Kansas City going forward. They're 1-4 on the road this season, so that is kind of a helper. They play at home a ton. They play the Colts, Texans, Chargers, and Broncos at home still, and their 3 road games are Titans, Raiders, and then the Dallas Cowboys on Thanksgiving Day. For Kansas City, man, this is, like I've said much of the year, this is not a great football team. It's a good football team, and they're far from elite. They make too many mistakes. Mahomes turns the ball over in critical moments. Another red zone interception. This time it doesn't go for a pick six. He should have thrown a pick six, but it got called back to a kind of a weak illegal contact penalty in this game on Hollywood Brown. Kansas City, man. I hope they miss the playoffs, of course.
Yeah.
But you hope they don't get in. Because if they get in, that means they won out of their last 7 games, 6. That means they're hot. That means they're red hot offensively, more than likely. They have beaten some good playoff teams. And then the Patriots, Colts, Broncos, and whoever wins the other division as well. In between the Steelers and Ravens, you have to kind of fear that Kansas City and Mahomes coming to your house in that round 1 is really, really scary. So it's not done for the Kansas City Chiefs, but it is getting close, and the air is getting thin in that November air.
Yeah. I mean, if that does play out and they've beat the Colts, maybe they won at the Cowboys, they beat the Broncos this time in Kansas City. Like, if you're one of those elite teams, the Colts or the Patriots, like, how are you sitting there thinking, yeah, but they're not going to beat us? Like, there's 100% a chance they could beat us. I have one more question about the Broncos before we move on, because last week we talked about this being a chance to prove themselves not fraudulent. That was the title of the video, and a angry Broncos fan commented, "You're the fraud." And then I was like, the Broncos were 1-2 against playoff teams going into this weekend.
That's still the same.
That is true. I would, because of the...
No, they're still 1-2.
I know they are still 1-2.
That's the way it has to be swung. Kansas City's not a playoff team.
Kansas City's not a playoff team, but I think beating the Chiefs counts for more. This is the most SEC fan thing I'm about to say. I think beating Kansas City matters more than beating other 5-5 teams because it's Patrick Mahomes, and until this season, he doesn't lose. He's losing more this season than normal, but I still think Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. And so now you look at the Broncos. 7 of their 8 wins prior to Sunday, 7 of their 8 wins came against teams who are combined 19-51. They needed miraculous comebacks to beat the Giants and Eagles. And so my question to you is, yes, the Chiefs are not a playoff team currently, but do you still think, would you have viewed the Broncos as fraudulent? Because I don't remember your answer on Thursday. And do you view them as fraudulent right now?
I thought they were on fraud watch just because of the way the games had gone. And there was no reason to not feel that after the last time we had seen them was Thursday Night Football against the Raiders, and they were atrocious.
Yeah.
They were kind of being carried by their defense. They weren't performing offensively to the degree that they should be. And they came into this game playing against a really, really good Chiefs team, and they got it done. I still think It's so easy to have the take of, okay, they're still on fraud watch, and when they lose in the postseason, which is gonna more than likely happen than not,
Happens to 13 teams.
you will say, oh, we were right, they are frauds. I don't think that's the case. I think that's too harsh. Unless they really, really show a stinker in the postseason, especially offensively, once again, like they did last year against the Buffalo Bills. But I think they have really alleviated themselves from that. They're 9-2. Of the teams that are 9-2 with the Patriots and the Colts, I view them very, very similar. And my power rankings suggest that as well. So I don't think they're frauds anymore. I think they're one of the better teams in the NFL. They just play in a way that you would say they are fraudulent because they are so heavily reliant on one side of the ball.
Yeah. I'll say Jack texted us specifically and said, I want people to know I still think the Broncos are fraudulent. So I'll put that out there, that the co-host who normally sits in this seat, Jack, still thinks the Broncos are fraudulent. I don't. I had this thought after Sunday's game of the Broncos are 9-2 right now, and they might be like a half as good as they are going to be in a couple weeks, or even 2/3.
Oh yeah.
Because imagine the way that defense is playing right now, carrying them to wins. I would argue in this game, just with the interception, it never felt like Kansas City was going to be able to score enough points. And shout out the offense for showing up and scoring 22. The offense has looked not great at times this season, but imagine if the offense can figure it out. And Bo Nix goes back to where he was in the last half of last season. The performances he was putting up that had me high on the Broncos, had a lot of people high on the Broncos. Down the stretch last season, he looked really good. And imagine if they can take those fourth quarter performances that we've seen this year, or take the second half of last year and turn that into quarter after quarter, game after game performances, and you pair that with the defense, and this could be a really, really scary football team. You could go from being you're one of the best to you are the best without a doubt.
I think one of the most critical things for them is going to be securing that one seed, and by winning a bunch of games down the stretch and having the better record than the Patriots and Colts, because this year they are not necessarily a great road team. They're 2-2 on the road with losses to the Colts and Chargers, and then their other two road games are a huge fourth quarter comeback against the Eagles, and they survived against Davis Mills and the Texans. They have not been great on the road so far this season. They got two road games coming up after the bye with the Commanders and Raiders, and that can kind of technically flip that stat. But I really want to see how they play at Kansas City on Christmas Day and how they play in the postseason. They have to, if they have home field advantage the whole way through, like they have the divisional round and the AFC Championship as the number one overall seed, and also getting to be the number one overall seed, getting the bye and avoiding to have to play Mahomes in the first round, maybe Josh Allen in the first round, Justin Herbert in the first round. If they can do that, I think they can easily win 2 playoff games and be in the Super Bowl. But if they're not the one seed, I don't see them winning 3 games, including one on the road, and making the Super Bowl.
Yeah. All right. Last game that we will review before we get to the graveyard. Detroit at Philly.
Yeah, defensive slugfest on Sunday Night Football. Eagles have delivered with yet another brutal watch on primetime, back-to-back weeks. Of course, Monday night, last week with the Green Bay Packers, and then this week with the Detroit Lions, the 2 NFC North teams. It's 2 big wins, though, for Philly. It's another head-scratching decision by Nick Sirianni in the fourth quarter, deciding to tush-push on 4th and inches and giving Detroit a leg back into this game. They end up needing the bailout on a pass interference for A.J. Brown to end up winning the game for sure. But it's another impressive defensive performance against what we at least view as a good offense. And Green Bay has the potential to be a great offense. And, of course, Detroit, we have seen great performances from them all year. Howie Roseman, it just continues to be year after year. They build teams. They'll have one off year here or there. Excuse me, but other than that, they are terrific. And with the losses that they suffered, and losing Darius Slay, and losing James Bradbury, and losing Brandon Graham, and losing Milton Williams in the center and Josh Sweat on the defensive line, it has not mattered because the young guys are playing incredible. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis might be the best defensive tackle pair in the NFL, and they game-wrecked this game. Jordan Davis ends up forcing a pick on Jared Goff because of a pass deflection, and then Jalen Carter has 2 pass deflections himself. Jordan Davis ends up having 3. The other young guys as well. I mean, this is, for the Eagles, it feels like year after year in the first and second round we say, oh, wow, how did that player fall to them? That's crazy. Jalen Carter, one of them. He's one of the best defensive tackles in football. Jordan Davis was one of them. He's been incredible. Nolan Smith has been great. Nakobe Dean fell to them and has been great. Andrew Makuba out of Texas has been really, really good. Cooper DeJean is one of those guys. Jahad Campbell, who wasn't necessarily terrific in this game but has had great moments this year. And then they do a great job in filling other spots around them. And Zach Bond, grabbing him from New Orleans, and he's been an All-Pro last year and might be as well this year. They had a surplus of picks in next year's draft, and so they shopped at the trade deadline, and they end up getting Jalen Phillips from Miami, and he has been really, really good for Philly in his 2 games so far.
They get Jair Alexander too? Was that them?
I'm pretty sure they had Jair at one point, but he's dealing with like a mental health thing.
Okay.
And so he didn't play on Sunday, and I don't think he's actually on the roster right now. But that defense has turned into a top 5 defense in the league, and they've shown that back-to-back weeks. And with their offensive struggles for Philly, they feel like the most dangerous team in football, because if the thing you're worried about is, oh, I don't know if that offense is going to be good enough for them to perform in the postseason, you're just wrong, because Jalen Hurts has been incredible in the postseason. And so if they can ride off this hot defense down the stretch and get into the postseason, Jalen Hurts and, of course, Saquon had his big games against the Rams and the Commanders in the playoffs last year. This offense and defense duo, I think they're the most dangerous team in football, and I think they're one of the best teams in football as well. For Philly, it is another impressive performance defensively, kind of a head-scratcher offensively, but I will almost kind of accredit that to offensive line. They're really dealing with injury issues. Lane Johnson might miss the rest of the season, and he is really, really impactful. He's their right tackle. He's one of the best in the league and one of the best in the history of the league. They lose their center and Cam Jurgens, who, of course, will lead their tush pushes, and so the tush push kind of gets shut down. We get in the second half without Jurgens, especially on the 4th and inches. Maybe that's an issue going forward. Their offensive run blocking success, I don't know the number, but I can tell you firsthand, as a Saquon Barkley fantasy owner, it's terrible. It's like Saquon is getting blocks like Ashton Genty is getting blocks. It is almost the exact same. He's getting hit in the backfield. There are no wide open holes. He's not allowed to get to his top speed, it feels like, ever. And yet they're 8-2. They are playing really, really incredible football so far this year. And Philly, I think, is one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL. They are, for me, one of really the 4 true Super Bowl contenders right now. And they've been terrific, even though it was another tough watch on primetime.
Yeah. I'm looking at the Lions scores, trying to craft this take, and maybe you can help me work through it.
Sure.
Because we've talked about this consistently, about the Lions being a front-running team, a team that gets up early and then just continues to be up, because when they're rolling, they're rolling. When they're not, they're not. They've only won one game that was a one-possession win. That was at Baltimore. They won 38-30.
They were up much of that game, too.
Right. They have not won a game, and this is where it gets weird, where both teams score between 10 and 25. And the reason I think that's relevant is because they're either getting in shootouts with team or they're losing these games. They can't score, I'm going to call it they can't win a reasonable box score, right?
Yeah.
Final score. Like, they're not going to win a game 24-17. They're not going to win a game 17-10. Like, they're not going to win these games where it's like average. Like, I don't like, they're going to get out and they're going to score a bunch of points, or the offense is just going to look below average and it's going to struggle. And that's kind of the concern that we've talked about with them for weeks at this point is that inability to go out and play a normal football game. Like
to play multiple normal football games, I'd say. Speaking on the wishy-washiness, last week against the Commanders, Dan Campbell calling plays, 44 points, 546 total yards. This week, Dan Campbell calling plays, 9 points, 317 total yards.
Yeah.
Not good. Not good at all. They are of course, they are out of the postseason at this moment, which is really, really tough because, of course, they want to be in the postseason. But I think it is more of a factor because if the teams above them, Rams and the Bucks are a little bit of a different story, but if it's Chicago or Green Bay or the Seattle Seahawks, if they have to go on the road in the postseason, it's not in a dome, they are going to struggle offensively. Jared Goff was cold physically on Sunday night. You could tell. He is I didn't actually look, but I'm pretty sure he was the only starter out there on both sides of the ball for both teams with sleeves all the way down. And he's essentially kind of wearing the turtleneck thing. You could tell the dude was cold. And it was near, freezing temperatures. It was near like 35 or so degrees. There's kind of a wintry mix that comes down at the end of the game. But he showed that with the way he played. He missed so many throws in this game. They were terrible on fourth down because he was missing big plays, especially in the second half. They are 0 for 5 on fourth down, which is kind of unheard of for the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff misses Brock Wright wide open on a touchdown because he's trying to force it to Amon-Ra. He misses JMO on a fourth down. They did not convert fourth downs because they couldn't run the ball on fourth down. They threw it almost every time, and they couldn't get it done with Jared Goff because he was missing, because he was cold, physically cold, and you could tell. And that's going to be a problem if we get to the postseason and they have to play at the Chicago Bears. Even if you think they are better than Chicago, and a lot of people do, I do too, I'm going to pick Chicago because I don't trust Jared Goff and that offense to be able to hit plays down the field because he's going to be cold. And that's a problem.
Yeah. Lions Stadium is indoors, right?
Yeah.
I've just going back. I'm not going to look at 2021 because the Lions were just awful in 21. But I'm curious. In these cold, Vikings are indoors.
It's really late in the season.
Yeah.
Is when you really want to look into it.
Chicago.
He's won games before in the cold, but it's just especially a problem this year. And I think in large part it is because they don't have Ben Johnson and they don't have that creative play calling. They aren't getting what they want on the ground. They had 74 rushing yards on Sunday night with Jahmyr Gibbs, with Sonic and Knuckles. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery in that offensive line. That can't happen. They are really becoming really reliant on Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's not a problem because a lot of teams are really relying on one guy. Seattle's really relying on Jackson Smith and Jigba. But they need to find consistency in the other players as well, in JMO and Amon-Ra. They need Sam Laporta back healthy. They need those kinds of things. They need everything to be perfect and everything to be working perfect for the result that they want, which is a win. And if they don't get that, it's almost a loss every single time. If they can, if they lose their next 7 games, I'll be correct. I'll expect apologies from all Lions fans because I had them going 6-11. I don't think that's going to happen. They still have winnable games on their schedule to play New York on Sunday indoors, and they have their next 3 games are at home. So everything's still kind of in front of them, but
that Green Bay game, the rematch
against Green Bay is going to be really critical. They will play one more cold weather game outdoors this year. That's at Chicago, the last game of the year. Other than that, everything's indoors. Every game is indoor. The last 6 games are indoors. So they need to win all of those games if they can, of course, but win as many as they can because they need to win this division so that they can at least host that first-round playoff game, and if not, they need to get lucky and have to play
the Chicago game. So 6 of the number greater than 6 games are indoors, not the last 6.
Yeah, their next 6 games are indoors, and then the Chicago game, the last one of the year.
Which depending on how the season plays out, could be for the division. Green Bay, Chicago's in first right now.
A wild card spot, very possible, because Detroit's not in the postseason right now.
Yeah.
Really anything's on the table there, because they'd have the head-to-head over Chicago if they beat them again. That's going to be a really, really critical game. And I go ahead and circle that one as potential Sunday night football game, which would mean it'd be even colder. And I may lean Chicago there. But that's really kind of takeaways for both teams there.
Yeah.
Philly feels really dangerous, and Detroit feels a little bit wishy-washy. And the schedule's going to have to pan out for them. They haven't had this concern in the past because they've gotten the right matchups in the past. They were the 1 seed last year, and then they got shocked by Jaden Daniels. The year prior, they hosted 2 playoff games, and then they went to San Francisco, not cold weather. And so they haven't had to deal with that yet. They need to win the division or get lucky because they can't play on cold weather right now, clearly.
All right. That Green Bay game I'm so excited for. I think I might be more excited from it just from Jordan Love and Matthew Golden doubter, but I want to see them prove themselves after that week 1 dominant performance. I want to see what that looks like.
You want to do our playoff picture
real
quick?
Give me a second to clean it up a smidge because I had to make... Oh, no, that's not the right button. Is this the right button? This is harder than... There we go. I've already updated, so the standings should be correct.
Cool.
So
we can start with you, sir.
Yeah, I'll go and get started. So Bills Steelers, is that the same as last week?
It is the same as last week.
That's what I thought. I had Josh Allen getting the win over Buffalo last week. And after his historic performance from Sunday, that will not change. I will still have Buffalo beating the Steelers. Jags Patriots. I still don't believe in the Jaguars, even after the win against my Chargers, and maybe that's because I'm a Chargers doubter, even as a fan. I do not trust that offensive line, and the defense is too show up one week, don't show up the next week for me. So lots of doubts there, which means that I can say that the Jaguars beating the Chargers means nothing. So I will go Patriots. Chargers at Colts. The Colts are no longer the hottest team in football right now. It's a 2-way tie, in my opinion, between the Broncos and Patriots. But they're still a really good team, and that offense, I think, would be able to... I think the defense would create havoc in the Chargers' backfield because I think that any defense can create havoc in the Chargers' backfield, and I think the offense with the run game is just... It's going to dominate. I don't expect the Colts to struggle too greatly there. Have the Colts lost 2 straight at this point? Is that right?
No.
Had they struggled?
They
in 2
just
games?
beat the Falcons.
What am I thinking about? Then?
They've struggled against the Steelers.
That's what it was. Oh, they're on a bye week this week.
They were on a bye week.
I don't know what I'm on.
Struggled against the Steelers.
They lost to the Steelers,
and they lost in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
To the Adonai Mitchell play.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, never mind. They have not struggled, but yeah, they'll beat the Chargers. So that means that the Bills will play in Denver, and the Patriots will play at home and host the Colts. Man, what an AFC divisional matchup. That looks familiar, doesn't it? Colts, Patriots.
Very much so.
And then Bills, Broncos. There's not the Bills offense against that Broncos defense. I think the Broncos defense against anybody, I would pick the Broncos defense to be able to find success and get stops. So I will go with the Broncos winning at home in Mile High. And then I spelled that? Broncoa. And they will host the Patriots. So I'll pick the Patriots to win that game at home over the Colts. And so this is crazy. You've got the matchup of two second-year first-round quarterbacks in Drake May and Bo Nix. And that's really cool to see. You love seeing that from that quarterback draft class. Seattle, Tampa Bay. This is a rematch of a game we've already seen once this season in Seattle. Seattle got the win there. But if
Tampa Bay did.
Thank you. I meant to say that. Seattle's going to get the win here because I think that the teams have taken kind of different paths since that time. Seattle's continued to improve. Sam Darnold does have the 4 interceptions on Sunday, but outside of that, they played a good game, and they were still in position to win that game, even with the opportunity to kick the game-winning field goal that they missed, unfortunately. But that was against Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles, and so they were close, and that was with an awful performance from Darnold. So if you consider that an outlier, which at this point I'll call it an outlier, I think that they'll be able to rebound because I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have struggled. They've been injured, but it hasn't been the same consistency in the past couple weeks, even since beating the Seahawks. So I'll pick the Seahawks in that game. 49ers at Rams. I'm really impressed by the 49ers able to get to this point, even with all the injuries they've sustained. JP joked that Christian McCaffrey's clearly sacrificing teammates in order for himself to stay healthy.
Yep.
I don't know if he's done it the past couple weeks. I don't know if they've had any since
they lost Michael Williams to an ACL injury. It's a big one.
Yep.
Ricky Pearsall didn't play this week for Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
So they've definitely had that issue all year.
Yeah. So, shout out to the 49ers for getting here, but running into the Rams, I don't think they're going to be able to get the win there. So I'll take the Rams. So that means they will be hosting this matchup. And they will be playing... They'll be playing they'll be playing the Bears. Because I think the Bears in Lambeau, I have long been a Green Bay doubter. I was a believer for about 2 weeks after that Detroit win, and then they showed that was like the highest of high-end play from them, and that offense has really struggled. The defense has been really good, but it wasn't like, I don't think it's been as elite as we really thought it was going to turn into, and so I'll take the Bears at home and scheme up some things offensively to be able to get enough points that Green Bay offense just won't be able to hang, and so that means Seattle will go to the Philadelphia Eagles. And in that matchup, I'm going to go with Eagles. The playoff experience, the lack of inconsistencies that Jalen Hurts has shown, whereas from Sam Darnold, there is always a chance that he's going to post a stinker like he did on Sunday with 4 interceptions. And it might not go the same way. You may not have that opportunity in the last second to attempt a game-winning field goal. You may end up losing that game by 21 points if Darnold has another game like that. So that's what I'll predict there. I will have the Rams winning at home against Chicago. Matthew Stafford has been great this season. I really am interested. I hope he plays another year because I would love for them to draft a guy like Taylor Green in the first round and let him sit for a year behind Matthew Stafford. One more year.
That would be crazy.
A playoff run for Los Angeles. That's the dream scenario, in my opinion, for Los Angeles would be to let a guy sit like Patrick Mahomes or Jordan Love did and develop behind Matthew Stafford, who's one of the best doing it right now. So, and then I will pick the Rams to win in Philadelphia. Man, who would have thought in 2021 that Matthew Stafford would go to 2 Super Bowls in Los Angeles? Patriots Broncos. I'm going to go with the better defense in this game and the home team. Both defenses are great. And offensively, there's some discrepancy. I think the Patriots are clicking a lot better than the Broncos are right now. But the Broncos defense right now is incredible. That's no disrespect to the Patriots defense, who's also playing really well. Like JP said earlier, one of the best run stopping defense in the NFL. But I think that the Broncos are going to be able to kind of limp and crawl their way offensively enough to outscore the Patriots, because the Patriots might score 17 points on this Broncos defense. So if you can get 3 touchdowns, I think the Broncos can get the win there. And then in this Super Bowl matchup of Broncos versus Rams, I'll go Rams. I'll go Matthew Stafford getting ring number 2, which is really crazy. But I'll go Matthew Stafford getting ring number 2 because that Rams defense is incredible. And Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, those are really great weapons that Stafford is able to work around. They've got 2 first-round picks this year. Because they traded back with the Vikings, I believe. Falcons. It was the Falcons because they wanted that second edge rusher. I really hope that they are able, because they got the Falcons pick, and so they could go get, in my opinion, I had them drafting a wide receiver. And because Devontae Adams is 33, I believe at this point, he might be 32, but you bring in a first-round wide receiver, and he gets to do there was a Cincinnati Bengals, right? Now you've got elite weapons all over the place. Matthew Stafford is able to score 35 a game with those weapons. They don't have a lot of weaknesses everywhere else, but I will not get into more mock draft stuff. But Rams get the win here, and then at pick 32, they get Taylor Green.
Yeah, it would be a very different scenario with the Rams winning the Super Bowl this year compared to what it was when they won it last time, where they didn't have any of those first-round picks and they had no flexibility going forward.
Yeah.
And they were forced to kind of fall down. They win the Super Bowl this year, they're going to have a top 10 pick with the Falcons, and they'll have another first-round pick with their own. And you kind of think they would be able to get some kind of playmaker, whether offensive or defensively, and a quarterback of the future there, of Sean McVay's choice.
Yeah, pick 32 is the perfect place to go and get a future guy, too, because you're not wasting a upper first round pick where you could be getting somebody to help out Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
So you get the best of both worlds. You get a top 10 blue chip guy to help win now, and then at pick 32, you still get the fifth year option for your future quarterback. So you let him sit for a year or even 2. I don't know how much Matthew Stafford has left in the tank.
Yeah.
He's been fairly healthy. He's been healthy this year, which has been a struggle at times. He had back issues, I believe, and was having to do pain control stuff there.
Really question whether or not he would play this year.
Yeah, and so he's been surprisingly healthy, and so maybe he's got a year left, maybe 2, and to be able to get that 5th year option, and it just maximizes everything for the Rams, maximizes the win opportunities. It's a dream scenario for them. So I'll have them winning, and if you've got that written down, I'll clear the board for you.
I got it. Sanders has Rams over Broncos, which for Sanders, that is now a 4th different Super Bowl winner. 4 straight weeks he's picked someone else to win the Super Bowl. First week after week 8 was the Colts, then the Bucks, then the Seattle Seahawks, and now he picks the Los Angeles Rams.
So NFC 3 out of 4 weeks.
He has picked 6 different teams to be in the Super Bowl. The Bills and the Broncos.
What I'm doing is
I'm covering all your bases.
I'm covering all my bases. So whatever happens, I can go back and clip it and post that one. It's kind of like Josh Pate with his playoff scenario that he's been doing.
Yeah, I hate that he's doing that every week. That's actually kind of annoying me.
Really?
Yes.
I don't mind it.
Because I don't think it's necessary. But he thinks it's necessary, so go ahead. I thought the commissioner's poll was something that was necessary.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs to update his playoff predictions every single week. Just talk us through the scenarios, which he does a really good job of. But I don't feel like we need to know what you think the playoff is going to be every week.
Well, he already does that with the commissioner's poll.
No, but he does with the playoff rankings should be. That's what the commissioner's poll is.
Yeah. Okay, hold up. I haven't actually paid attention to this.
Every week for the past 3 weeks, he's projecting the playoff, what 12 teams will make it.
Right.
And then he picks the whole bracket with that.
So
no different than what we're doing.
Is it the same? And I haven't looked. Is it the same as his commissioner's poll?
No, it is what the current.
Because the commissioner's poll is how teams would be ranked this week.
It is what he thinks if the season were to play out from here. What would the 12 teams be?
Okay.
And
so
he's doing that every
he's
single
not doing his bracket prediction based on
the playoff rankings.
No, he's doing them based on where he thinks they will be at the end of the season.
Yes.
Okay. I don't particularly care. I like listen. I watch all of his episodes, so I have no critiques for him. He does way too much good stuff for me to get nitpicky.
Sure. All right, let's get going for myself. I will take the Buffalo Bills to defeat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because Mason Rudolph would start right now if the playoffs started today. I'll take Buffalo and Josh Allen to win that one. I will take the New England Patriots to defeat the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think it would be closer than people actually expect. I think Jacksonville will cover the spread in that game, but I'll take New England to win that game. And then I would take Daniel Jones over Justin Herbert because why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Daniel Jones has one playoff win. Justin Herbert has none.
Imagine, though, if after all you've used that as like your biggest point to dog on Justin. One of your biggest points is like Justin Herbert doesn't have a playoff win. Daniel Jones does. Imagine if Herbert got his playoff win against Daniel Jones.
Hey, more credit to him.
That'd be
we
electric.
Can finally get off the Justin Herbert hate campaign. But I will take at this moment.
Would
Daniel
the Justin
Jones and the
Herbert
Colts.
hate campaign end if they got a win?
If he got a win and he was impressive, then yes.
Wow.
I think so.
I didn't realize it was that attainable.
That's literally all it takes. I just need to see you perform in the postseason. Bills Broncos. I will take Buffalo. I like them in that matchup actually because their corner play is great. But who are they going to shut down? Like Josh Allen has like 7, 8 receivers. Gabe Davis returned. Mississippi State legend Tyrell Shavers caught a touchdown. Khalil Shakir, their best receiver, 1 catch, -3 yards on Sunday. So they can go to anyone. They can go to Joshua Palmer. They can go to Shakir. They can go to Dawson Knox, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid. They have so many weapons that Pat Surtain can't just take away your CeeDee Lamb or your Justin Jefferson or your what Buffalo used to have in Stephon Diggs or even Amari Cooper. They don't have that, so it won't matter. Their offensive line is also one of the best in the league, and so I think they would match up well against that pass rush. Give me Josh Allen over Bo Nix in Denver. Colts, Patriots. I'm going to take Indy.
Wow.
It's actually, it goes against what stats and info would tell you. Patriots are the best rush defense in the league. Indy relies a ton on running the football, but I think they would hit enough plays over the top in this game. I think they would create enough havoc defensively. They're very opportunistic defensively, and I'll just take them to win this game. It's no different than me when I picked Oklahoma to beat Bama this weekend. It's just a kind of a gut feeling right now. I think the Colts would win that game over New England, and then that would mean Buffalo is in Indianapolis in the Loud House for the AFC Championship, and give me Josh Allen and the Bills. Shocker. Seahawks, Buccaneers, 2 of my favorite teams in the NFL, especially all season long on the pyramid. Give me Seattle to defeat Tampa Bay pretty convincingly. I still think Seattle is one of the best 3 teams in the country, or in the nation, I should say, or in the league, I should actually say. Give me Seattle. Niners, Rams. Rams are the best team in the league. Give me Los Angeles. Stafford's kind of gotten over that 49ers problem too. Packers, Bears. This would just be cinema. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say maybe once ever did Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers face the Bears in the playoffs. And so we really have only gotten to see this matchup in the regular season. So seeing it in the postseason would just be awesome. Ben Johnson versus Matt LaFleur. Caleb Williams versus Jordan Love. Give me the Packers because of that defense. I think that defense is good enough to shut down Caleb Williams in that run game that's been effective with Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift. So give me Jordan Love and the Packers to upset the Chicago Bears. And so that will mean Packers, Eagles, and Seahawks, Rams. 2 matchups we've seen in the last 2 weeks. Packers, Eagles first, this time in Philly. Give me Philly with ease. I think the Eagles defeat the Packers. Jalen Hurts in the playoffs, go look up his numbers. He's incredible. That place in the playoffs is incredible. I think their last loss at Lincoln Financial Field in the postseason is when Russell Wilson beat them there. The COVID year, or it was pre the COVID year, because Carson Wentz got a concussion early in that game, and then Russell Wilson ends up winning it. I think that's the last time they've lost in Philly in the postseason. Seahawks, Rams, we just saw this matchup in this building. I didn't talk about this in the preview, but I think Seattle would win the game if they played it again today. And so I'll take Seattle to win the game if it was played this weekend and it was the postseason. I guess that would be in 2 weeks. But give me Seattle. I think Seattle played their worst game of the season offensively, both in the run game, and of course Sam Darnold was terrible. Yet they still had a game-winning field goal attempt from 61 yards to defeat the Rams. They only lost by 2. They cover the spread. Seattle, I think, would win the rematch right now. So Seattle, Philly.
So when do I clip the clip of you saying that the Rams are the best team in the NFL and then they lose in the second round?
You can clip that all you want. I think my explanation was there.
It was a good explanation. It's just funny.
Yeah. Give me Philly to defeat the Seattle Seahawks. Shocker. Give me Philly at home at Lincoln Financial Field. I think that'd be a tough matchup, especially defensively for Sam Darnold with all those playmakers and speed that Philly has. And then I think their offense, Philly, would just grind the clock away enough and stay on the field enough to keep the control of the game. And I would just trust Philly in a game against Seattle right now, especially if it's in Philly. If it's in Seattle, maybe it's a different story. Give me Philly. And that means for the third straight week, I have Bills, Eagles in the Super Bowl. I'm taking the Bills. No change.
For the third straight week?
For the third straight week. I'm going to take the Bills over the Eagles. I think these are two of the best teams in football. I think these are the two teams that will show enough in the playoffs. Josh Allen has only lost to 2 quarterbacks ever in the postseason. Patrick Mahomes 4 times. Devastating. And Joe Burrow. There are no quarterbacks in this postseason that could stop him, at least at this point. Drake May might become that. Daniel Jones might become that. Joking. Bo Nix might become that. Sam Darnold might become that. Jalen Hurts might be that, but I think the Bills are on a run of destiny. They are just due for the championship. I think they have earned it. I think they've paid their dues. And so give me Buffalo to defeat the Eagles in a Super Bowl in San Francisco. Bills over Eagles for the third straight week.
Cool. Ready for your pyramid? It feels weird because we usually do the playoff picture before our big game reviews, and so it's weird to do this and then go straight into the pyramid. So we'll see how it flows. Excuse me. But we can go ahead and dive right into the pyramid. I've got your graveyard, the updated version up here.
We have 2 new teams that have joined. Excuse me. The graveyard. The Atlanta Falcons and the Cincinnati Bengals. A moment of silence for them. Thank you. That's as long as the silence they deserve. They're both 3-7, Kevin. Both these teams are, oh my gosh, atrocious. Bengals defensively, and then they couldn't put together an offensive performance this weekend at all against Pittsburgh. And Atlanta, I can't even believe it's so bipolar with their fans because I know them so well. Half of them, and if I'm specifically could be talking about one person. Half of this person thinks, fire Raheem Morris, why isn't Bijan touching the ball, all of that stuff. The other half is saying, I'm actually happy with how he performed this weekend against the Panthers. And neither of those two halves have grasped the fact that the whole reason that Arthur Blank picked Michael Penix was so that they would not have a quarterback controversy, which was a quote from Raheem Morris, and not have a quarterback need the next few years, so they could continue to pick elite players in the draft like Bijan, like Drake London, and hopefully what they expect in Jalen Walker and James Pierce. Now Penix is hurt. He's torn his ACL, this time only slightly, not fully, but he's torn his ACL for a third time. Even if he was healthy, which he was fine in the Panthers game until he got hurt. But he has a 4-8 career record. Kirk Cousins has fallen off a cliff, and you gave him 4 years, $120 million. And now you might go into this offseason needing a quarterback because you don't know if Penix is going to be healthy playing next year. Hey, but it's all good. We can tank, right? We have a first-round pick. No, you idiots. Traded it away for James Pierce Jr., who's been okay, but he is not worth what this first-round pick is going to be worth for the Los Angeles Rams. The Falcons join the graveyard. And for the Bengals, sadly, Burrow's return won't matter because they are 3-7, and their next 4 games are against the Patriots, the Ravens, the Bills, the Ravens. They are looking at 3-11, and Joe Burrow will return for the game which they will more than likely be 3-10. So why even play him, honestly?
Yeah.
Why not just play Joe Flacco the rest of the year?
That's the actual team that I proposed the CJ Stroud benching. That's the actual, just don't even bring Joe Burrow back.
There's no reason to. But Bengals and the Falcons, they made it 11 weeks, but they have joined the graveyard. It sucks to see the Falcons go there because I'd love to talk about them every week, but I'm done, man. I can't. I can't listen to them anymore, and I can't watch them anymore. So they are in the graveyard. And for the teams left off now, the Carolina Panthers got their win over the Atlanta Falcons, but I'm not moved. They are way too wishy-washy. They're 6-5, I get it. But it was the Falcons. I do want to give a ton of credit to Bryce Young for his performance. I'm really happy for him. I wanted him to do well. I like Bryce Young. I loved him out of college. Maybe not number one overall pick love, but I loved him. What was one thing he did in college that if you had one word to describe him, he was clutch. Bryce now has 10 game-winning drives in his career. He has been clutch. That's amazing. But this is just his second game of 200 passing yards this season. Of course, he set
Can he count it for 2 because it was 400 yards?
No, I don't. I won't count it, sadly. But 448 passing yards, franchise record. I need to see more consistent performances because I'm scared next week he will throw for 168 yards and it won't matter. Panthers are going to stay left off. They still deserve to be power ranked here. Last week, the Pyramid got this game right. Last week, the Pyramid leaned towards the Carolina Panthers against the Falcons.
No way we're referring to the Pyramid as a model at this point.
And the Pyramid was right. And I stand by that. So Carolina ended up winning and covering. And the Pyramid's correct there. Carolina will stay on the teams left off. Now we can move to the actual Pyramid, which will look a little interesting this week. We'll start with the first tier, Tier 6. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in such a brutal spot. They're going to stay where they're at. Rodgers is hurt. He won't play this weekend. And it's such a brutal spot because you wish you could play Will Howard. You wish you could just play him. But you can't afford to lose games because you're going to lose the division to the Ravens, who are just a game behind you. So Mason Rudolph has to start games. No one wants to be in the scenario where you have to start Mason Rudolph. You're at Chicago this week. The defense needs to find a way to win a 16-13 kind of game. They need to battle and shut down the opposing offense like they have the last 2 weeks. But you need Rodgers to return. But, man, you almost wish you were 3-7 right now, and you could just play Will Howard and see what you have there. Because I've heard a lot of positive things in-house about Will, but he can't play him because you need to win the division because you're in the division lead through 10 weeks of the season. So it's such a brutal spot for Pittsburgh, but it's Mike Tomlin. It's eternal. They do this every single year. They are in, what did you say?
Pittsburgh Purgatory?
Exactly. They just continue to be in a spot where they are too good to have a top 15 pick and get an actual quarterback, but not good enough to actually go win the Super Bowl. And it's just year after year. They're looking at 9-8 again.
They are. They're 6-4, and they still have to go to Chicago, play Buffalo, at Baltimore, at Detroit, and Baltimore again. Those are some of the games. They could very easily finish 9-8.
Yep. Who would be shocked? The Niners stay where they're at. Brock came back and looked brilliant. This team is making the playoffs, I guarantee you, because their next 3 games, they're 7-4 right now. They play the Panthers, Browns, and Titans. They should go 3-0 and be 10-4. And then they'll play the Colts, Bears, Seahawks to end the year. If they can just win one of the 3 games, they're an 11-win team. That should be enough to make the wild card as a 7 seed. 2 is, hey, maybe you're competing for the division. 3 is almost guaranteed at 13 wins to be competing for the division. It should be enough, though, if they go 4-2 of the next 6. They remind me of a 7-seed team with one of the quarterbacks I love, where they were dangerous maybe offensively. Maybe they have a good offensive day and they beat you. They have an opportunistic defense. But when they get in the postseason, they'll just be overmatched by whoever they play in the 2-7 game. This is a team that played in the postseason in the last 2 years. They remind me of the 7-seed Seahawks with Geno Smith, who faced off against the Niners, got blown out by the Niners in the first round. But, hey, maybe they're a little frisky with their offense and maybe with their defense. They didn't do enough in the postseason. I think that's going to be the same fate for the San Francisco 49ers, and they'll stay where they're at here on Tier 6. The Cowboys are here as well. Dynamic offense as known. They added pieces, looked good, especially the returning guys from injury, but Quentin Williams and Logan Wilson played well. I don't think this team has enough to make the postseason. They look like they're going to be on the outside looking in. But what an emotional performance and a great performance from Dak and the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. The Vikings, 9 is not good, but it's early. Give him time. The season's probably over. He just started his 5th game. And like I said earlier, answering Chromie, develop JJ so JJ plays better in games where 9 isn't there yet. He can't have 86 passing yards through 3 quarters and then turn it on in the 4th. We need like 150. Then we can turn it on and throw 150 in the 4th. JJ's got to develop his baseline so when his alias, his alter ego, 9 comes out to play, he's throwing for 320 and not 186 and a loss. Jacksonville rejoins the pyramid. An impressive showing defensively and offensively. They played pissed off, as Josh Hines Allen said. And now they have the ultimate trump card over the Los Angeles Chargers and the Kansas City Chiefs with head-to-head victories. This team better make the postseason, and it would be a great performance this year in Liam Cohen's first year as the head coach. Might revive Trevor Lawrence's run in Jacksonville as well. We'll go to Tier 5 now. The Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell play calling, first week with the Commanders, 44 points, 546 total yards. Dan Campbell this week, 9 points, 317 total yards. They will now have to test the run that they have where they have won 10 straight times after losing. See if they can make it 11, but this is such a wishy-washy team, and I have to finally drop them down to Tier 5. The Chicago Bears are right there with them. Caleb now has 5 game-winning drives this year, the most by any quarterback in Bears history since the merger. The Los Angeles Chargers are going to stay where they're at. Herbert is on pace to set the record for quarterback hits and pressures in a single season in NFL history, both pre-merger and post-merger. The Packers. Any win on the road in the NFL is great, and they got a good one over famous Jameis. And the Giants, a clutch one at the end with Savion Williams and Christian Watson making incredible catches. You want more offense, but they have really one of the best closers in the game in Micah Parsons. You get in the 4th quarter and you're trailing to the Packers, it's over. Micah is going to find you. He's going to hunt you down, and he will kill you like Liam Neeson and Taken. He will come and find you. He has a particular set of skills that Micah Parsons possesses, and he will find you. If Green Bay has to lead in the 4th quarter and you have to go drive and score, it's over. The Texans, a win is a win is a win is a win. Davis Mills gets a game-winning drive against the Tennessee Titans, and they win 16-13, but no C.J. Stroud against the Bills on Thursday Night Football. The defense is still playing great. Need the defense to show up against Buffalo this weekend, or on Thursday, I should say. Tier 4. Now the tiers start to get smaller finally. The Colts had a bye week, no movement. The Bucks lost 2 of their last 2 against good teams in New England and Buffalo. Kind of heartbreakers. They're still showing a problem where they have, in a big-time game against a big-time team, they don't perform. They're 2-2, or 2-4, I should say. 2-4 in those games against those big teams this year, but they are entirely in the game, so I have to give them credit there. It's not like they're getting blown out. They're a lot like Kansas City, where they're in these games, but they're just losing them. They need to get this win, though, I think, on Sunday Night Football against the Rams to install confidence, and especially if they don't want to be the 4 seed in the playoffs once again. They have to win against Los Angeles on Sunday Night Football. Broncos, Move up to Tier 4. Another impressive defensive performance. Bo Nix on third down was amazing. All the big throws. At this point, I think you could say Bo is clutch. I think he has that gene at this point. You could say that. They're 7-2 in one-score games, though. And so this could completely flip on its head down the stretch. They could lose these big games. Out of the teams between Indy and New England, I think they're least likely to get the number 1 overall seed down the stretch because I don't know if I can trust them to continue winning games this way. They don't blow out teams. And when you have as an impressive a defense like that and Sean Payton as your offensive play caller, like you feel like you should. You feel like you should have more blowout games. They don't have those right now. They only have 2 this year that aren't by 1 score. See if they can put them together. They need to be the 1 seed, I think, to make the Super Bowl, which is, of course, what they want. The Ravens are going to stay where they're at. Lamar had his worst game of the season, and they got the win over Shador and Dylan Gabriel, who are both terrible in the game. Myles Garrett was just absolutely terrific game wrecker on them. I'm not going to panic on Baltimore after a really kind of hidden under the radar bad performance because I imagine much of the country didn't watch the game because much of the country had, if you don't have Sunday ticket, you had Chiefs Broncos as your CBS game and you had your Fox game was your Seahawks-Rams game. And so you didn't watch this game because it wasn't on. If you had Sunday ticket and you actually put it on for whatever reason, it was a really, really struggle fest for the Baltimore Ravens and actually pretty concerning going forward. But it was another great performance from the defense, I guess. And they should continue to rattle wins off.
Can you really count a performance against the Browns as a great performance?
They will. They will use that stat. I wish I had that stat of their last 5 games versus their first 5 games again this week. I don't, but it got better with the performance this weekend. We'll go to Tier 3 now. Excuse me. Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen masterclass, 3 touchdowns through the air, 3 touchdowns on the ground. He was really, really incredible. They rely on him really heavily. They didn't run the ball well, but it didn't matter. Patriots had a bye week, essentially, so no move. They played the Jets on Thursday Night Football. That might as well have been a bye week. Get to play a little scrimmage on Thursday, get a free win, and then get the mini bye. It might as well have been a bye week for them. So really no move for them. Chiefs are going to stay where they're at on Tier 3. It was a brutal loss, but they were properly power rated. I had them as 1.5-point favorites, according to the pyramid, going into the week. They lost on a game-winning field goal. They don't lose big games, and so they deserve to be high on any power ranking. The pyramid didn't get exactly what it expected, but it essentially did.
I'm going to have to start putting a little crawl at the bottom that says, do not take the pyramid as gambling advice. It's a little disclaimer.
Actually, you're welcome to. Statistically, we are 57-54 so far this year at a 51% clip, so positive. But over the last 5 weeks, the pyramid is 28-15.
Against the spread or outright?
Against the spread.
How do you use that? Because if teams...
So I'm using the pyramid to calculate, based off the tiers, a point differential between the teams. And so this week, for instance...
But when Bills Chiefs were in the same...
When they're in the same, I view them as neutral on a neutral... as they would be a pick 'em on a neutral field.
Oh, and so the home team is
the home field advantage is where the difference ends up being. And then I base it off what the Vegas spread is. So for this week, Pittsburgh goes to Chicago. Chicago is a 3-point favorite right now. Based off of my pyramid, I would have Chicago as a 4.5-point favorite at home versus Pittsburgh. 4.5 as a favorite. That's bigger than what I'm getting as a 3. So I would lean towards Chicago -3 as my pick. Last week we had Philly as a 6.5-point favorite versus the Detroit Lions, and the spread was only 2.5. So that was one of my best bets. Best bets went 3-0 based off the pyramid last week. So this is it's working so far, and it's been really working the last 5 weeks. It had a tough start. But again, I think there were so many teams that it was really hard because you had 7 teams that were all neutral pick 'em. They wouldn't be that way normally.
And so now we only bet teams that are on the pyramid.
We're
teams
only
that are in the
betting
graveyard
teams-
are just dead.
Yeah, teams that I haven't figured out how to calculate the value for graveyard teams.
Yeah.
That I'm working through to make it accurate,
Yeah.
which is kind of controversial because it's using a lot of hindsight bias. But
Well, you
If-
have to use hindsight to test
yes,
it.
if it works out, it works out, and I don't care. Tier 2, the Eagles. Defense has been outstanding, especially given what we thought they were going to be coming into the season. And if their concern for them is, are they going to perform offensively? Well, once they have gotten to the postseason, they have been terrific offensively in the postseason. Against the Rams, they were really good. Even go back when they lost the Super Bowl, it was 35-35. And then KC gets the field goal. They dominated Kansas City again offensively in last year's Super Bowl. If that's the concern going forward and this defense will play like it has been, this is one of the most dangerous teams in football. But they're not good enough for Tier 1. Seattle's going to move down to Tier 2. Darnold potentially had his worst game of his career, and yet they still had a game-winning field goal chance against a team that is Tier 1, which is the Los Angeles Rams, because they got the win over Seattle. I think they deserve to be on top of the pyramid. But if they played again right now, as evidenced by my playoff picture earlier, I would pick Seattle over the Los Angeles Rams, regardless of where the game was played. I have to give a ton of credit to the defensive backs. It was what we questioned coming into the game. They had 4 picks as a defensive backfield, stopped touchdowns. Emmanuel Forbes, shout out him. All this being said, again, like we talked about, Rams were Sanders' pick to win the Super Bowl right now. It's completely different to how it was when they won the Super Bowl last time. If they are to win the Super Bowl again this year, they're going to have a top 8 pick because they have the Falcons pick and still have their own first-round pick. Going to be scary. This can continue to be a team and a force to be reckoned with. And they are on top of the pyramid after Week 11.
No big issues. Wynn pointed out that Chiefs above the Broncos when we just saw the head-to-head is crazy. The Broncos won by 2 at home, so that's
1 by 3.
1 by 3. Excuse me.
So they would have won by 0.5 points on a neutral field.
And in theory, the Chiefs would have won if they were at home because it'd be a 5-point swing. So Chiefs win by 2.
Yeah,
GG.
Again, like I said last week, I had Kansas City above Denver. The spread was Denver plus 3.5. It was Kansas City were favored by 3.5 points. I actually leaned Denver plus 1.5. I thought that was too many. And so we picked Denver as one of my best bets, and it hit. So Pyramid was technically right, that this game was a lot closer than meets the eye. And they now are even closer, according to the Pyramid. Now it would be, on a neutral field, Kansas City would be favored by 2. So it's not that big of a difference, really, at all.
Yeah. That's all I've got. That was a good show. We got through it.
Yeah, we got to pick our games for the coming week.
Yes, you are right. Correct. Let me pull that up. And then I do have a question because what you were talking about I'll go ahead and throw it out there. You're talking about that Eagles defensive line and the guys they've got, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
Does Georgia have the best team in the NFL right now? So, like, if you took Georgia grads and put them up against the grads of any school, well, first of all, I think they've got the best team of any college. Would it be the best team in the NFL? Matthew Stafford throwing to Ladd McConkey.
George Pickens.
Hand the ball off to James Cook. On defense, you've got the defensive line, obviously. On the outside, you've got Travon Walker.
Mm-hmm.
At linebacker, you've got Nakobe Dean.
Roquan
Smith, exactly. I don't know who you have in the secondary off the top of my head.
Secondary is where we get a little spicy. It'd be Keely Ringo.
Yeah. DeAndre Baker's not still in the league, is he? He was a first-round pick.
No, DeAndre Baker's not still in the league. It would be Malachi Starks would be someone.
He's a rookie?
Yeah, he's a rookie for Baltimore, first-round pick.
He's looked good, though, right?
He's looked pretty fine. He's made some big plays the past few weeks for Baltimore. And then I'm trying to remember who the Packers guy was that they had.
Hold up, I'm looking.
Who played a bunch of weeks or a bunch of seasons.
What year is he?
He's probably in year 7 or 6.
Oh, so he's an older guy, like 2019. Is he a DB?
DB.
Let's see.
But I think so. I think they would be.
Leonard Floyd, is he still playing?
Leonard
No,
Floyd
he's
is a free agent.
okay. He could come and be a good death piece. Todd Gurley's still got one more year in him. What are we talking about?
I can't remember his name now. I can't believe it. He played for the Packers.
Who was he drafted by the Packers? Packers. Eric Stokes. Eric Stokes.
Yes, Stokes.
Brock Bowers. Cannot forget about Brock Bowers.
Might be one of the best tight ends. Yeah, they would be close, I think.
I think they'd be a pretty. I mean, Matthew Stafford
I
throwing
wonder
to Lad McConkey, Brock Bowers, George Pickens.
What coaches would be in line
Ooh.
for alumni or used to coach there? One of the two. I don't know. That's a really interesting proposition.
I think so. On my website, I have a page titled "Articles" that I haven't written anything for. I think I might try and write like Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, maybe Michigan, like something that and then do like a rank what teams have the best current rosters in the NFL. And I
Sure.
make it. We might try to make it like a joint like project that we work on over the next couple weeks. Because I think that'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
It's clearly going to be probably one of those 4. Trying to think other teams that could compete.
Yeah, Mississippi State's pretty good.
Texas could probably well, they don't have a quarterback.
Quinn Ewers would have to start for him.
Dang.
Or Sam Ellinger, who's been a backup for many years.
Yeah. Texas, but the rest of the roster are probably really good.
Bijan.
Notre Dame might be able to. They don't have a quarterback either. Deshaun Kaiser.
Sam Hartman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Who's just been a backup.
Yeah. LSU could definitely compete. We'll start looking at that. Could be really fun. That could be a really fun project for us to talk about a little bit on the show and then also work on off air. That being said, let us pick. I got to turn my.
Week 13, it's the SEC Cupcake Week.
Yeah.
And then Big Ten teams are kind of participating in that as well.
But it's just in their conference.
But it's, within their conference because they play non-conference games, so they don't get the extra cupcake game. Without a doubt, we will be doing BYU goes to Cincinnati.
Yep, obviously.
BYU is a 2.5-point favorite against the Bearcats. Pittsburgh versus Georgia Tech in Atlanta will be another pick. That's another ranked matchup right now, according to the AP poll. Pittsburgh at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is a 2.5-point favorite at the moment. Game day is USC at Oregon.
So we'll do that one.
And Oregon is would you like to guess the spread on that? Oregon at home versus USC.
I like USC. Oregon is, I'm going to say Oregon minus 6.5.
Minus 10.5.
Really?
Is the spread, yes.
Really? All right.
Yes. Very, very big. And then that is all of our ranked matchups. In the SEC, you have Missouri at Oklahoma.
That's a definite possibility.
Arkansas goes to Texas. Kentucky, Vanderbilt. And then Tennessee goes to Florida, which if Florida's still their head coach, I'd consider it.
Hear me out. Louisville at SMU, because SMU still got one loss in the ACC. Louisville's a ranked team.
Potentially. Those are, let's see, that's 3 games. So, yeah, we could pick one.
I'm just so glad we don't have to do a state game this weekend. I want to talk about Blake Shapen playing football instead of Mario Taylor.
James Madison hosts Washington State. And that is a pretty big one for
that whole
them.
game day thing was unfortunate the way it played out.
Yes.
Did you see the account that announced it and now it didn't happen, so they are apologizing and trying to decide they're going to delete their account or whatever? I don't know. Feels like a pretty big overreaction. Your source was wrong. It happens. Don't trust that source again. But I don't think you have to beat yourself up about it.
I would like to do Washington State at JMU. because that'll be the biggest game for JMU until the conference championship. And that would be...
That's 4 games.
My 4 picks right now, because really nothing else is coming through. If we want to do that ACC game, we can, but not really a big preference. And MACtion is currently going on, so we can't talk about any MAC games. In the Mountain West,
I'll throw Louisville SMU up there, and then I'll also throw out like fan game of the week.
Sure.
But we'll ask Jack, and if Jack is adamantly against doing Louisville at SMU for whatever reason, we don't have to. I just think it is a game that matters more than a lot of games this week.
Yeah, in the NFL for Week 12, it will be Colts at the Chiefs. Kansas City is a 3.5-point favorite according to ESPN Bet.
Can the Colts prove they're not fraudulent?
According to me, Kansas City is a 4.5-point favorite. So we will be betting Kansas City minus 3.5, according to the pyramid. The Bucks go to the Rams on Sunday Night Football, and the Rams are a 7-point favorite. The pyramid has the Rams as 8.5-point favorites. So we'll be betting Rams minus 7, more than likely. Those two, and then the pick is between 9 going to the Green Bay Packers, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 6-4 against the Chicago Bears, who are 7-3, or Eagles, Cowboys.
We've talked about the Eagles, I believe, 2 weeks in a row.
Or we could do the Panthers 49ers game.
We've talked about the Panthers so much.
I don't really care. Yeah, they don't need that.
What was the first one you said? The Steelers Bears.
Steelers Bears.
I'm down for Steelers Bears.
Okay, Steelers Bears. The Bears are 3-point favorites. According to the pyramid, Chicago is a 4.5-point favorite.
Cool. That's all I can think of. Oh, this was funny. This is a couple days from like 2 days ago, I think. But someone, it's about, well, not about. Braylon Womack is a 5-star recruit from the state of Mississippi. He just got logged, or there was an expert prediction for him to flip to A&M. And I was just kind of reading through the comments because I have been keeping up with Womack because the state is trying to get him. And an Ohio State fan commented, "So disappointing. Kid wanted to be a Buckeye, as did his parents, and he's now followed quick cash twice." And a quote tweeted said, "Ah, yes, the poverty-ridden program that is Ohio State." I was like, really, Ohio State fan just saying, like, man, I can't believe this guy's going somewhere else for money. Like, y'all offered him money. Like, what? He just didn't want to go there. Like, it's okay. Not every kid wants to go play. Like, I don't know.
Every kid's different. Depends on what they want. Do they want to, do they care about the school, like the actual degree? Do they care about the environment? Do they care about the weather?
Yeah. Care about being closer to home. I mean, I don't know. College Station is 9 hours. I think he's from Brandon, maybe.
Care about his family, being able to come to games. Care about, like I said, weather. So does he want to play in cold weather versus warm weather most of the time? Care about NIL. Care about money. Care about the potential to be a draft prospect there. Care about brand value in... Is he going to play early on and be able to have high-impact plays and thus rise his draft stock? Or is he going to be, like Ohio State, just another one of those elite players that's there, but he is a collection of 7 or 8 guys on the defense that's really elite? Now those guys will get drafted, like Sonny Styles and Caden Curry and Caleb Downs and Igwinosa will all get drafted, but they aren't talked about like Jacob Rodriguez is at Texas Tech, where he's kind of the star.
Kelly Jones is.
Kelly Jones is talked about that way here. Trying to think where else. At LSU, you'd think of Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins and Mansour Delane. Alabama, you think of Justin Jefferson or LT.
At Texas, you think of Colin Simmons and the linebacker.
Yeah, Colin Simmons and Anthony Hill. They stand out more. His decision. He should come to state.
True.
And if I'm Jeff Levy, I'm calling Darius Slay. I'm having Isaac Smith. I'm having Martin Emerson.
Emmanuel Forbes even. I'm having Kelly Jones right now. Talk to him and tell him what chance he has to develop. Jonathan Abrams. That was kind of a draft pick. He was a first rounder.
And tell him, about what it means to be a Bulldog.
What are your thoughts?
Kind of legacy.
Okay, this is so like State historically has put a lot of defensive players in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on like does that hang around a program in different coaching staffs? Because like people are State fans on Twitter like try to be like, oh, come to State, we put defensive guys in the draft. In my opinion, if I were a recruit, I would not care what the logo has done because it's an entirely different era of Mississippi State football. And I think the same could be said for DeBoer at Alabama. Now, I think DeBoer might supersede that because he gets super talented guys and he's a great head coach. But it's not Nick Saban, Alabama. It's not going to be Patrick Surtain and all those other guys. I don't know Alabama football, so I can't name all the guys. But the long list of defensive players that they've put in the draft, DeBoer is more of an offensive guy.
I get that, but I think for the 32 teams that are making draft picks, the brand does apply.
Yeah.
Like when someone goes to draft a Mississippi State defensive lineman, they think of, oh, this is the school that produced Jeffrey Simmons, Chris Jones, Fletcher Cox, Preston Smith,
Montez Sweat,
dominant defensive lineman, and whether or not because that was across multiple different coaching staffs, for the most part.
Yeah, it was across two. Yeah.
Well, you're still going to think of Alabama as really, really talented players that are just athletic freaks. LSU, you draft an LSU receiver, they seem to hit, and that's gone back to Ed Orgeron and now Brian Kelly, and I'm sure it will continue.
It was before that. It was Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry. Yeah. It was
It'll continue even more with Lane Kiffin, I'm sure. I think for the actual teams that drafting, I think it's where it makes more of an impact versus what the player sees. I don't think that's the hugest part of the pitch, especially I think for those guys because they were Mississippi kids. That's more of the pitch of you get to be close to your family and your family gets to come to all the games.
Yep.
And you get to represent this state that you grew up in. And there's no greater way to do it. And still on top of that, you can be highly impactful potentially in the NFL.
And for some people, that's not what they want. Especially like my mind immediately goes to the A&M outfielder who broke his ankle in that College World Series. Mm-hmm. He went to Stanford. I don't remember his name. He was a Mississippi kid. And Mississippi has great baseball. Ole Miss and Mississippi State have both been historically very good at baseball.
Yeah.
But like his personality was just like, I just want to go see something else. And I have family. I'm from Mississippi who've been the same way. So for some people, their brain is just wired to where instead of wanting to stay close to home, they actually want to get away from home.
Yeah. So
maybe that's where he is. I would argue that Auburn, where he's been committed for the past little bit, is not really getting away. So I don't know if that's what he's looking for. So let's flip it. What are your thoughts on stars changing when they commit to different schools? Because if you've seen it was a whole thing last year. I'm sure it's a thing every year, but I've only been on Twitter for a couple of years, for a couple of recruiting cycles. Last year, a guy decommits from like a G5 school and then commits to Georgia and jumps up a star or two. This year, the guy just decommitted from Indiana, commits to Florida State and maybe Indiana. I know that it's happened to a guy that committed to just Ohio State. He's now a 5-star, and I think he jumped from a 3 or a low 4 to a 5-star. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
I think it's completely overrated because I don't think the stars matter.
Interesting. That's like saying rankings don't matter. Maybe.
For what the team or for what that player may potentially do down the road. It's all about getting with the right coaches and development and getting the right development because you can have 3 stars become high-level guys in the NFL. You can have 5 stars, which right now the only thing that comes to top of mind, but I'm sure there are other positions, quarterbacks, Jackson Arnold, DJ Uiagalelei, 5 stars, home runs, even Cade Klubnik, you could even argue to a degree, misses.
Yeah.
Doesn't end up working out.
The other one, the UTEP guy.
Malachi Nelson. Another one. It doesn't end up working out. So I think it's so...
Penn State's got a 5-star wide receiver, I believe, who's
maybe.
It's the I can see him because he was in that. He's been in all the images, I think, with like Cam Coleman. I don't know. It's a wide receiver they've got who I believe was a 5-star and never worked out. So it does happen.
I don't pay too much attention to it because I think in large part it is, to a degree, the star ranking can be how athletically gifted they are.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it does how they play is more so on how well they are coached and if they are put in the right spots to succeed, and if they fully grasp. I'm searching for the right word. If they buy in to everything, if they buy into the culture and they buy into it, if they become unselfish, and they like Caleb Downs, we don't know what Caleb Downs' voice sounds like because he's bought into that. He's bought into being unselfish and just being dominant out there on the field.
Yeah.
I think so much of the high school rankings, you see like the guys that are like, oh, I got no offers or anything like that. And so many people would like to highlight like Josh Allen had no high school offers. He went and played junior college and then went and played for Wyoming and then made the NFL. Now he's the best quarterback in the NFL potentially. There's that take as much as there is the, oh, congrats on getting the 5-star, stuff like that. I think it's just a little bit overrated and shouldn't be. It's fun to deal with. It's something you should deal with.
Yeah.
But I don't think it matters overly that much.
I would just, because you said stars don't matter. Do you actually believe that, or is that just like a...
I think the stars, for me, tell how physically gifted this player is.
Yeah.
When I talk about quarterbacks, with 5-star quarterbacks, you can tell, oh, that's a 5-star quarterback because he throws it like a 5-star quarterback. He throws it mechanically sound. Like Ty Simpson throws it mechanically sound.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't guarantee that Ty Simpson is going to have what quarterbacks need, which is pretty much 75% is in here, the decision-making out there on the field.
Yeah.
So that a 3-star can have that, but have a 3-star's physical capabilities. I think star rankings are so much physical capabilities. And I think maybe a little too much people project those as, oh, they're going to be they're going to perform to that kind of level as a 5-star. They are just physically gifted that way. That doesn't mean they're going to perform and that doesn't mean the number one overall recruit in 3 or 4 years is the number one player in college football. It doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
It never means that. Very rarely does it mean that.
Yeah.
So I think star rankings matter in terms of how physically gifted is this person.
I think the reason I think they matter is, the reason I think that there's some validity to like the frustration with that is because stars go into recruiting class rankings. Recruiting class rankings go into how much news is around your program, how much hype is around your program. And it's something that I've said that like, if you're not good at football, it's nearly impossible to build a program that's good at football.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't been good at football for 80 years, like it's really hard to just do that. I think that Ole Miss, when Kiffin leaves, I don't think Ole Miss is going to stay a top 10 team. I think if Kurt Signetti retires, in 8 to 10 years or leaves for another school, Indiana will not continue to be good at football.
Absolutely.
Mississippi State did not stay good at football. And so I think it kind of feeds into like the top teams get the highest rated players, and then a lot of those players pan out, just like I think they would have, not just like, they potentially would have at other schools. But like it creates more media, creates more attention, creates more hype in programs, and it just feeds to the continuation of like teams that have always been good are going to stay good, and teams that aren't good at football are not going to be able to build a program.
That's why it's all there, I think, because the coaches, when they're recruiting, some of them may use the star rankings. I have no clue, but they don't. When they sign 3 5-stars and 4 4-stars, they don't think of them as 2 different tiers of players. They're just like, oh, this is my recruiting class. Yeah. They think of the player in a different light.
But they can definitely use that as like the next year they can look at guys, high schoolers, and be like, hey, like you want to come play? Like look at the class we brought in, or in the same class.
As they should.
Like they 100% should, but that's why it matters, because it having a 5-star or a 4-star allows you to create so much momentum inside of a program and go and get maybe the 4 stars that you're talking about that have the coaches see them and they know that they're better than their 4-star, their 3-star ranking. But it might be a lot easier to be like, hey, like, look at what we're building here. Come play for us.
Sure.
I think that there is a peak, right, where like you build a recruiting class and you can use it like a rolling stone and like a snowball and like gathers snow and it gathers more guys. Eventually, like it all collapses because then you start to lose guys because they don't want to get lost in the depth. But recruiting to me is just fascinating. But I do think that that's an interesting aspect to it. But I'm also going to be 100% honest. If a program like Georgia or Ohio State likes a kid, maybe he deserves an extra star. Like that's the brutal reality that I hate is like if a program like Georgia or Ohio State or Alabama that constantly pumps guys in the NFL, if their if their scouts saw this kid and liked him enough to bring him in, like maybe he deserves the 4th or 5th star.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. That is all I have. All we have. We missed having Jack today. It was weird being in his chair. I feel like I talked a lot more. Maybe this is the talking chair.
Oh, yeah. We did 3 hours as 2 people, which is impressive.
Yeah. But we enjoyed it. If you are watching the live stream back, like, subscribe. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Chromie and Win for being active in the chat. If you are watching or listening back on Spotify, we appreciate it, and thank you so much. It means a lot to us. We love doing this, and it's a super fun hobby for the 3 of us to throw this together a couple times a week. But we will see you on Thursday when we preview the weekend of NFL and college football. Peace.
Later.